Welcome in here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We don't want to waste any time. We want to get to this press conference happening. This is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz speaking after a woman was fatally shot by an ICE agent in Minneapolis on yesterday. She was identified as Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old mother and U.S. citizen. Let's take a listen in to what Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is saying.
Minnesotans meet the moment once again. Thousands of Minnesotans demonstrated last night peacefully. They shared a message about the reckless ICE mobilization is not keeping us safe and led to the tragedy that the world witnessed once again. To Minnesota, I say thank you. There's strength in numbers, there's power in peace, and what we saw was a beautiful vigil to a life that we're starting to learn more about. And I will let those that want to push out false narratives, to slander or defame Renee Good. Minnesotans will tell her life story. Minnesotans will be there to defend her honor and see this as a human being, not a moment in time or the callous casualness that I've watched some people on TV gloss over what they saw. We've also spent a lot of time talking last 24 hours about accountability. That means no function of government operates with impunity. It means when someone's in a position of authority and they commit any act that impacts our people, there has to be another place to turn to get justice. Checks and balances. Basic idea, the center of the formation of our country. It's the only measure that protects us from the abuse of government or federal overreach or tyrannical government. Yesterday, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the BCA, spent the day yesterday attempting to get that accountability. We have learned that the Trump administration has now denied the state that ability to participate in the investigation. And I just want to make this as clear as possible to everyone. Minnesota must be part of this investigation. These are nonpartisan career professionals that have spent years building the trust of the community. There's a BCA Force Investigations Unit that was created by the legislature, by the people of Minnesota, to provide an independent, consistent, and trusted mechanism for investigating the use of force incidents involving law enforcement officers. Minnesota has seen our share of these. And what you've seen is, and I have witnessed it during my time, that these professionals have risen to the moment. They are trusted by people. People who are not by inclination trusting of law enforcement or government have come to see the professionals at the BCA as true arbitrators that can get them justice. The unit is the result of years of scrutiny, public engagement, and bipartisan legislative action. Minnesotans have made it clear time and again they expect transparency through this process where a police officer uses deadly force. The BCA Commissioner, Superintendent Evans, have earned that trust by delivering on that expectation. I think it's clear to everyone as they saw this that it feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because People in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even don't know. They've determined that the actions are done. I don't know. I've not used inflammatory terms of what happened. I've asked us to find the answers. The only way we find the answers is a thorough investigation by nonpartisan professionals. We've delivered that. We've been able to do it. We've earned the trust. And when I say that, the trust of BCA, and I tell Minnesotans the trust of law enforcement here. Everyone knows, globally, certainly here, that George Floyd, who was murdered a few blocks from this site, tore at the soul of who we were. But we healed, we built back trust. Chief Brian O'Hara came in and took one of the most difficult jobs in America of building back trust in the police force in Minneapolis after Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd. And he's earned that. And he's level, and he's fair, and he's asking for that. And so, Minnesotans, I will continue to press that we be part of the investigation, that we do the investigation, so that Minnesotans can trust what the outcome is. I don't have a predetermined notion. Yes, I saw the video. Yes, I saw that. But a thorough investigation will see what happened before that. It will take all factors in, and it will come up with a fair and just conclusion. And we will accept that. Very, very difficult for Minnesotans to think in any way this is going to be fair when Kristi Noem was judge, jury, and basically executioner yesterday. That's very, very difficult to think that they were going to be fair. With that being said, Minnesotans, we've risen to the occasion so far, but it's going to get challenging. It's going to be challenging because I feel your anger. The human desire to lash out in this moment is very real. I can tell you that that is the wish of many people, that they fulfill the wish they want to see us turn on one another, turn towards violence rather than peaceful reconciliation, rather than peaceful civil disobedience. And we have to do our best to not play into that. I say this too when I saw yesterday some of the anger, whether it's Minneapolis Police, Minnesota State Patrol, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, Minnesota National Guard. They are there to protect and serve, as it said. They are there to protect Minnesotans. Throwing your anger at them only inflames this situation. And I know some of you were up at the Whipple building this morning, and to the press who are here, I saw some of this myself. Thank you. Continue to have access to every single space. Continue to cover this story. Continue to show the world what's out there. I will say it where our president won't. The press are the defenders of our democracy. You need to be there. But I also tell folks, protect our Minnesotans who are out there and don't turn the anger to them. This is a brazen use of force. They want us to bend the knee. They want us to capitulate. The way we give them what they want is allow them to use this as an excuse to put more troops on the ground. Use them as an excuse to show that these are violent protests. And I also witnessed what I think is going to be a pattern over the next few days in the coming hours, is I saw an individual show up there with the intent to antagonize folks who were peacefully protesting, with a bullhorn to scream at them. And again, the desire to move on that individual is exactly what they want, because our respect for the First Amendment means we will expect and respect all opinions. If this individual is there expressing support for ICE, that's their constitutional right to do so, and they need to be protected. Don't allow that to be a catalyst to create violence. We believe in states' rights. We believe the federal government needs to stay out of this. We believe that the situation has gotten worse and less safe because of their presence. And I will just say there were two incidents yesterday I saw after this that just tore at my soul. I saw an individual at the scene identify themselves as medical personnel, a physician, and asked to provide aid, and an ICE agent said, "I do not care." That lack of humanity was chilling to me. And after this incident happened, And after the tensions rose, ICE agents entered a Minnesota school, causing disruptions at that school. I can't say this strongly enough as governor, as a parent, as a teacher. To our elected representatives, Democrats and Republicans, I beg you, I implore you to tell them to stay out of our schools. This tragedy will be magnified 100-fold if this fight moves into the hallways of our public schools amongst our youth. And they're watching us. They're watching us now, how we respond. So I've got a few simple asks. Let us, the professionals, handle this on Minnesota soil, this investigation. De-escalate this situation by removing yourselves from this situation with these 2,000 agents that were put here. And above all else, stay out of our schools. I'd like to ask you to care, but that might be a step too far for some people. But I know Minnesotans care. So we'll protest peacefully. We will win in courts. We will certainly win in the defense of our democracy because the American people see what's happening here. But the way that we don't win and the way that we lose, if this turns towards violence and allows them to escalate. It cannot happen. So I ask the grass-top leaders out there, the faith leaders, the folks who are on the streets, and in many times the true leaders are not the elected officials. They're the folks on the ground. I beg you, implore you, follow those words of the leaders we've had. I had the privilege of serving with John Lewis, and John talked about good trouble. I'm not telling you not to find good trouble, but I asked John many times, I said, John, I don't know if I'd have your self-restraint. Didn't you want to lash out? He said, yes, daily. But he said, I wanted to win this. I wanted to do what right, and I wanted justice to prevail. And to do that, I knew the only way was to not lash out, to not give in to that. So to each and every one of you, we're not going to win this through violence. We're going to win it through justice. We're going to win it through compassion. We're going to win it through Minnesota Nice, and we're going to win it by holding every one of these people accountable as they should for what we've seen on the streets of Minneapolis. With that, I'm going to turn to Commissioner Jacobson to give you a situation update.
Thank you, Governor. Again, I'm Bob Jacobson, and it is my honor to serve as the Commissioner of Public Safety. First of all, again, I want to express my sincere condolences to the loved ones of Renee Nicole Good. Someone has lost their life, and that is not something that anyone takes lightly. Minnesotans came out yesterday to express their grief, their frustration, and their anger at this terrible tragedy. I expect that they will continue to come out today. And I want to thank everyone who demonstrated peacefully. This helped honor Renee's memory and gave her family space to mourn. Minnesota's residents and visitors have the right to demonstrate and to exercise their First Amendment rights. I want to remind everyone that there are safe ways to do so. Our goal is to reduce tensions, to avoid conflict, and to maintain a calm environment. And as I mentioned yesterday, we recommend the following safe and lawful ways to demonstrate. Please get together peacefully with others in public areas where pedestrians are allowed. March or walk together in pedestrian areas, please, not on the roadways. Make your voice heard through chants, speeches, and displaying signs. And there are a few things I just want to mention very quickly that are unsafe. Because as always, our top priority is public safety, and we cannot allow behaviors that create hazards, threaten public safety, or disrupt emergency services or endanger people nearby. That would include certainly demonstrating on the freeway, walking on highways, throwing objects, setting things on fire, property damage, graffiti, fireworks, illegal weapons, reckless and dangerous driving, or assaultive or aggressive behavior. I know that we all want more definitive answers about that fatal shooting that occurred yesterday. And as we are able to get those answers and dispel rumors and false information, then we can rightfully honor Renee's memory and help her family, loved ones, and our community heal. With that, I'll turn it back to Governor Walz and maybe a few questions.
Please. Esme? I have not. As I said yesterday, I did speak to Secretary Noem and received a lot of talking points. I will note that I asked Secretary Noem how she would have felt if President Biden had sent 2,000 troops into Rapid City, South Dakota, and she said she would have welcomed them. I leave that for the folks of South Dakota to determine. I've not spoken to the president. I would ask him, first of all, the goal here is to make America safe, is what he said. There is no verifiable evidence that any of this is making America safer. I would ask him to de-escalate in the moment, to allow Minnesotans to back up and grieve, to allow this investigation to be played out by the rule of law. I said it again, I have not passed any judgment on this. And to please, whatever it is, leave Minnesota alone. Earlier this week, I don't know if it was if something he wanted to have already made it clear. I'm exiting the stage here in a year. But I told him I have a year to continue to do what I love dearly and what I believe I've been good at, making Minnesota a better place to live. The number of calls we got today of parents asking if they should send their kids to school or not. Minneapolis had to make what I believe was the absolute correct decision to cancel school. We have students out of learning today. I would just ask him, I'm not talking anything about border security. I'm not talking anything about what he needs to do on that. None of this is accomplishing either his mission or making us any safer. So just give us a pause. Let us breathe. Look, we're exhausted. We're exhausted as Minnesotans. We're exhausted as Americans. And this relentless assault on Minnesota, for whatever reason, is just cruel now. It has reached cruelness. So please, just give us a break. And if it's me, you're already getting what you want. But leave my people alone. Leave our state alone. And look again and see what's happening. It's not me saying it. You're hearing it from many others. So that's what I would say.
Governor Walz and Commissioner Jacobson, is there anything stopping state and local law enforcement from conducting an independent investigation to this, even if the federal government does not want to have you have a joint investigation?
So, great question. We have asked for cooperation from the federal government. We were invited in to do a joint investigation on this initially. We continue to work with the federal government all the time on joint investigations. This is not something new, whether it be with the FBI or other federal law enforcement agencies, so we are accustomed to doing joint investigations. As the governor has mentioned, our force investigative unit within the BCA has a stellar reputation for doing quality investigations, for finding the answers to the questions that people have. There are so many questions out there that I know the public has from watching what's been shown on social media and regular media. And the goal for me would be to provide an investigation, preferably in tandem with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because we work with them all the time, and they do have all the evidence in the original investigative notes and reports. We have none of that. They have shared none of that with us. We would welcome the opportunity to jump back in, to do that investigation, use our high-quality investigators from the BCA to be able to do that with them, to find the answers that the public deserves. Without any of that information, or without any of that assistance from the FBI or the federal government, we would be at a loss to be able to initiate and conduct a thorough investigation. For us to be able to do that, it would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, without cooperation from the federal government.
How difficult would it be to file state charges without the cooperation of the FBI?
To be able to file state charges, we would need, again, a full investigation, which would include the opportunity to have been at the crime scene, to have had the opportunity to take a look at all the video and evidence that the FBI would have in their possession. I don't make any prejudgments about what happened yesterday. We can all see what we want to see on the videos and what we have seen in the media. That doesn't mean, none of us, I will not, as a public safety professional, jump to any conclusions as to who is at fault in this. What I will say, though, is that unless we do that thorough investigation, unless we have access to all of that evidence, unless we have access to the agents that were involved in that, to any witnesses, without any of that, we would not be able to put together a quality investigation for any prosecutor to be able to make a determination as to whether or not someone should be charged with a crime.
Can I ask
I'm going to note on this too that no one less than Tom Holman yesterday said it would be unprofessional to pass judgment ahead of time. Now, the disconnect between what Tom Holman said and Kristi Noem said needs to be rectified by the federal government. I will note too, this is a question I asked, not being an attorney of my team, and it will go to the family, that there will certainly be civil cases filed on this, and those will be filed in Minnesota court and be held in court. Corn?
What is standard operating procedure when a federal agent of any kind in Minnesota shot and killed somebody, a civilian? Are you usually involved? Is there usually a joint investigation?
Generally, if there is any investigation involving use by a federal officer, generally the federal government, federal officials will lead that investigation. We have participated in numerous investigations in the past. It is very infrequent where there's a use of force by law enforcement officer, federal law enforcement officer, but we have worked jointly and shared information in previous investigations.
I'd like to say, I'm going to add on this, I'm going to say, if you truly wanted to de-escalate this situation, the logical conclusion would be to follow that procedure and allow Minnesota to participate. And that's where we started yesterday, and it's one of the reasons I came out here, and I'm not going to criticize that because that was the proper process, and I'm going to have to talk to Minnesotans to try, and it's a very difficult task. I think we all know what can happen here, to calmly wait until all the facts come out. I think you in this room are seeing the gravity of this situation by not allowing Minnesota to participate, and the prejudgment that's already been made by leadership creates a very, very dangerous situation. And that's why, once again, I'm going to reiterate to our federal partners, simply let us be part of this. Use our professional folks. They will gain you the credibility and the trust of Minnesotans to believe the work that you're doing is honest, and it's not just a whitewash to backfill a predeceived notion. All right, so I got time for.
Is there anything that the state can do to put in additional protection around schools or to allow for additional e-learning days for these situations?
Yeah, it's interesting, Dana, that you would ask that. We were just, as we were coming in here discussing, someone asked about that, and they mentioned Ruby Bridges and the Little Rock folks about escorting people in. We have not determined that yet, but it is a situation that we're going to have to explore. As I said, again, the thing that cut me deeply was watching what happened in our schools and the chaos, and I was on with Commissioner Jett this morning as he's talking to folks from St. Cloud to Duluth about what they think about today. Should we be in classes today and tomorrow in those schools, or does it pose a potential risk? And so we're trying to figure that out. I think many of the things and the lessons we learned during COVID is local communities and local schools being able to make some of these decisions in the long run probably gets us better outcomes, but we are deeply concerned with that. I'm going to come back as soon as we get any more information from all of you. We'll be in front of you again. I will reiterate, and many of you know my wife, Gwen, the First Lady, is an English and literature teacher, and we were talking about some of this, and she got asked the question, and it was when will all of this end? And what Gwen said, it will end when enough people say it will end. And I think that is sage advice. And then I couldn't help but thinking, and it scares me a little bit, I heard those words. We remembered, many of us in here in sophomore, when we read it, that the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most important directive. It certainly feels like that in this moment. And so I want Minnesotans to not believe that I'm telling you not to be angry, not to be scared, not to be feeling a little bit hopeless in this moment. But I would also say this, and I saw it last night, I saw it during George Floyd, I've seen it throughout our history. When things looked really bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held that line for the nation on that July 3rd, 1863. And I think now we may be in that moment that the nation's looking to us to hold the line on democracy, to hold the line on decency, to hold the line on accountability, and more than that, to rise up as neighbors and simply say, we can look out for one another, we can have differences, but we've proved to the world going on 250 years that our democracy could hold. It feels to me like we're at one of those inflection points, that simply asking our government to give us accountability, listen to local leaders, ratchet down the rhetoric, let people feel safe in their person, and let's let our kids go to school without fear. Let's let our kids go to school knowing that tomorrow could be a little better day. And so we're going to work on that. I'll leave you with this, and I'm not sure when we'll get in front of you next, but to Minnesotans, again, just one last time, don't give them what they want. Don't give them the unrest that they want. Don't give in to allowing them to bring more folks in here. Don't allow them to expand this somewhere else. Rise up, wrap your arms around your neighbors, peacefully express your First Amendment and your constitutional rights, and let's start healing, get some answers, and move Minnesota forward. Thank you.
All right, so that's Minnesota Governor Tim Walz finishing that press conference, updating us on that ICE-involved shooting from yesterday. Answering questions from reporters, we did learn that the Trump administration has denied the state a role in this shooting investigation. More information hopefully will come out soon. And once it does, we'll bring that to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. And also in the 2 o'clock hour, we will be talking with Quentin Williams, former FBI agent, also former federal prosecutor, to break down sort of this case and try to clear up some of the questions that you have to the best of his ability. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Servant. So earlier today, I believe, Carlene, correct me if I'm wrong, we took it live, the press conference with Charlotte City Councilman Malcolm Graham. We had it live here on, Carlene gave me the thumbs up. So yes, we had it live here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Charlotte City Council member Malcolm Graham, really talking about what this year brings, and that includes public safety. It also includes the future of transit. So Julie Kay was at that press conference this morning. I was going to say early this morning. Well, it wasn't so early.
Early for me.
Early for Julie Kay. She works all the shifts. Julie, big takeaway. Again, I kind of gave a brief overview. Public safety, which has been a big topic here. Transit. Two big topics here in Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the beginning of the year, everything is underscored by it's about to be budget season.
Yeah.
And he is kind of sharing that effort, albeit that retreat at the end of the month where they discuss budget priorities, public safety being number one. And of course, that kind of underscores every issue in Charlotte right now because we've made so many national headlines at that point. But the big headline today, I think, is that Charlotte City Council is preparing to vote on Monday for $4.3 million in funds to the new transit authority. The Metropolitan Public Transit Authority, the MPTA, you may remember if you followed the many pieces of this story,
Right.
That is the new authority that will decide how these new transit funds are distributed. Of course, the 1 cent sales tax passed barely in this November election, and so that is going into effect, and that money, those extra increased funds, will go to this authority to decide how they're spent. But we're kind of in that transition period where council is giving them authority that they had previously held. It's kind of this weird in between of, we knew this would be difficult to kind of figure out how this looked, but until those funds kick in and they're available to use, the way he described it, I think, was really good. Of it's a car with no gas. It looks great, it's brand new, but you can't really do anything yet. And so this $4.3 million would go towards what he's saying is about 6 months of work for the MPTA until those other funds kick in, just giving them some cushion to actually do something. He expects it to pass on Monday, but of course, that's a big umbrella of issues. Public safety, especially on the light rail, is going to be number one of those issues, of course. Buses too, of course, but the light rail, of course, being the main one because of the murder of Irina Zarutska, the other stabbing we had about a month ago now. And so this is kind of where we're sitting as we head into this new council, this new budget season. At the same time, the State House is investigating Charlotte's response. Both city and county leaders are getting called on to testify at a House Oversight Committee in the state government in Raleigh just a couple days after the budget retreat. So that's all happening at the end of the month. It's going to be a really, really busy month for City Council.
Are you covering that hearing at all? Do you know?
Sure hope so.
Okay.
It's going to be busy,
It was like part of a personal question too.
They're going to go from Asheville to Raleigh in the same week of.
Which is not a short drive. For
no,
folks
it is
who are
not.
Familiar.
But at the same time, it's not all council members. So Malcolm Graham will be in the audience, but Mayor Vi Lyles and Sheriff Gary McFadden are really the ones that I think people are paying close attention to for their testimony here in front of Republican leaders who are, of course, very critical of city's response to it. And so some of the questions that we got to ask Malcolm Graham today, for example, do you think there's going to be a train-specific police force, are probably some of the same questions that we're going to hear repeated again by Republicans to the mayor and to other leaders.
I mean, another chapter in the weird to say the least relationship between Raleigh and Charlotte, lawmakers in Raleigh and Charlotte. It's just over the years, it's just been a contentious relationship, and this sort of continues with this.
And he touched on that too. Of course, Malcolm Graham has a unique experience having previously served for a decade in the Senate. And so he's worked with Senate Pro Tem Phil Berger quite a bit. So they have a working relationship, which is helpful for things like this. But he even said, complicated is just kind of the beginning of this relationship. But he pointed out there are some other things that, the questions go both ways. We need funding, he says, from the legislature, from the General Assembly, to do some of these things. Because the PAVE Act, that allows funding from the taxes, but it also means that the city and county are going to be responsible for funds that the state maybe typically would be responsible for. And so there's kind of a weird balance of he's saying, we need more from the state government in order to do what they're asking. But depending on how this hearing goes, and you want to believe it's being held in good faith, that could put an even further strain on the relationship between the two.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to play out what plays out, one in Asheville and then in Raleigh just days later. Julie, when can folks get your story?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Julie K., thank you for stopping by the studio.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to head back out to Minneapolis, where faith leaders, clergy members, community members holding a press conference calling for the removal of ICE in Minnesota and accountability for the agent who shot and killed Renee Good. Let's take a listen in.
Traditions here represent love and compassion and justice and peace. And we come not just in peace, but demanding it. And to demand peace. In the scriptures it says peace, peace when there is no peace. Amen. To demand peace means that you must demand justice. That means that ICE needs to go. As people of faith, we stand together. ICE out now! 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 Take off your mask! Yeah! As people of faith here, we stand together. We stand here with community. We stand here because we know that when violence happens, we cannot be silent. When our neighbors are hunted, we do not hide. We organize. And so Renee Good stood for her neighbors. We now will stand for her. We call the public to join us. Clergy and community together. Until accountability is real, until justice is real and visible, and Minnesota is free from this terror. Yes. Can you all hear me clearly? Yes. All right. I am going to now introduce our next speaker.
My name is Martha Bardwell. I serve as lead pastor at Our Savior's Lutheran Church right here in South Minneapolis. And today, I am feeling heartbroken for our community here in Minneapolis and for our nation as a whole. Right here on this block, children who attend my church catch the bus every morning for school. And yesterday, their bus stop became a scene of terror. And so this family that I dearly love, they are recovering from trauma today. And those children, and all our children in Minneapolis, they're not catching the bus today. They're not going to school today because we made the decision to keep them safe. To keep them safe from our own government. How messed up is that? I had to have a conversation with my 8-year-old and my 11-year-old this morning about why school was canceled today. It's so wrong. This Sunday, my congregation, along with many Christian churches around the world, we will celebrate the baptism of Jesus Christ in the Jordan River. And we will anchor our souls and our minds and our strength in the story of God's beloved Son, Jesus. And we will anchor our souls in our own baptismal call, which is crystal clear. We are called to love God. We are called to love our neighbors as ourselves. We are called to work for justice and peace and to serve all people following the example of Jesus. And welcome the stranger. Amen. Yes. Every time we gather as a community around the baptismal font, I, as pastor, get to address the congregation, and I say to them, do you renounce evil?
That's right.
And the forces that defy God.
That's right. Yes.
And the congregation with one voice responds, we renounce them. Let's say that again. We renounce them. Today we stand together across faith and race and culture as leaders in this community, and we say with one voice, we renounce this evil.
Yes. We renounce this evil.
We reject government terror and government lies.
We reject government terror and government lies.
We reject the violent tactics of this federal surge of ICE presence that's already led to the loss of life. Nobody should be shot trying to stand up for their neighbors. Nobody. We renounce this evil.
We renounce this evil.
As Minister Janae said, we need ICE out of Minnesota right now. We need the officers involved in this killing to be held accountable.
ICE out now.
ICE out now. ICE out now.
ICE out now.
We need Congress, again, to do their job, to hold this administration accountable for the chaos and cruelty that they are wreaking in these streets. And to all of us in this nation, whoever you voted for, hear us. Hear us crying out in Minneapolis today. And turn with us with commitment away from evil and towards the good. We remember Renee Good today, and every time we say her name, may her name remind us, may it anchor us in what our calling is here as people of faith and as people of goodwill and as neighbors. We are called to choose the good, to work for the common good, to hold fast to what is good. We need ICE out of Minnesota now. And until that moment comes, we will not be intimidated. We will continue to push back against this reign of terror. As clergy, as neighbors, as elected leaders, as Minnesotans, arm in arm. And when the federal government sends agents of cruelty here, we will be agents of care and compassion. And when they send their agents of hate, we will be agents of love. When they send their agents of harm, we will be agents of healing. We will be a surge of courageous nonviolence and love. Join us.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maulid Ali. My name is Maulid Ali. I am the Imam of Abu Bakr Mosque here in South Minneapolis in this neighborhood. Today, I stand with faith leaders united in grief and united in purpose. Yesterday morning, a mother was killed right here. Renee Good deserves justice. Her child deserves justice. Her family deserves justice. We demand accountability. Renee Good was 37 years old. She was a mother, a neighbor. This is a tragedy. In a broad daylight, on a residential street, she was shot and killed. This is not a war zone. This is our neighborhood. Look around. Today we come together to reject division and fear. Today we come together to say no to violence. Today we come together to seek justice for Renee Good. Safety is not negotiable. Everyone in this city, everyone in this state deserves to feel safe. Every one of us, every family deserves to have a secure home. Every one of us, every child deserves to walk to school without fear. Last night, I received a phone call from Minneapolis Public Schools. Today and tomorrow, Minneapolis schools are closed because our streets are not safe. Parents are afraid of sending their children outside. Families are afraid of going to work. Neighbors are afraid of opening their mailboxes. This is not normal. This should not be normal. In a precarious moment like this, we choose unity over division, hope over despair, faith over fear. In a moment like this, there are some people who want to divide us, but we're united. There are some people who profit from fear. But today we come together to send a message of love, of hope, and unity. I believe this darkness will pass because we're optimistic, because we have people like you who stand up for justice, for truth. Today is the day that we send a message to everyone in this nation that we're united. We reject any dehumanization of any person in this city, in this state, or anywhere in our nation. As a Muslim leader and Imam, my sincere condolences goes to Renee Good's family, our neighbors. This is a time that we show compassion and mercy to one another. To all Minneapolis residents and neighbors and Minnesotans, this is a time that we come together. This is a time that we show unity, and this is the time that we show people who we are as Minnesotans. We're united. We will never let anyone divide us. May God protect the city and the state of Minnesota and the nation, and may God comfort the grieving, and may He guide us all toward justice and peace. Thank you.
I am Rabbi Tamar McGill Grimm, and I serve as the senior rabbi at Beth Jacob Congregation in Mendota Heights. I don't know if I have ever felt this heartbroken and this proud at the same time. I am so proud to be part of the Minnesota faith community. Look around. Look at these people. My tradition teaches that human life is so sacred, so valuable, that preserving life takes precedence over all of the other laws in the Torah. What we witnessed yesterday, an absolutely senseless and tragic murder of a wife, a mother, a caring neighbor, Renee Nicole Good, who should have been tucking her son into his bed last night, just like I was tucking in my 2 kids. This goes against everything our country is supposed to stand for. It goes against what it means to have a safe and free society in which neighbors look out for each other, in which officers obey the law and show up to protect people, not harm them. We need accountability, and we need it now. We need the FBI to release evidence to Minnesota law enforcement, and we need it now. We need to demand that our elected officials demand from the FBI that they release this evidence, and we need it now. We need an administration that values human life, and we need it now. Hear, hear. We need peace and security on our streets, and we need it now. In my tradition, we teach that when somebody has died, the appropriate thing to say to the family in mourning is that their memory should be for a blessing. We will continue to fight so that Renee Nicole Good's memory is for a blessing, that her death not be in vain. We will continue to fight for the sacred value of human life. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. May the one who makes peace in heaven make peace reign upon us here in Minnesota and in our community, for all the inhabitants of our community. Amen. Amen.
My name is Reverend Dr. B. Chavez Russell, Senior Pastor of Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, a church that have been the staple in South Minneapolis since 1959. A church that was started because of injustice. A church that exists because we as a community recognize that we got to come together and stand against anything that does not represent God. Amen. In John chapter 2, when Jesus walked into the temple during Passover, he became angry at the money changers and the sellers of the animals and the temple leadership for taking advantage of the people who simply just came to worship. Yeah. In response, he didn't react in rage. But what he did was he intentionally braided a whip together. He braided a whip together to drive them out of the temple. so that the temple could be used for its original purposes, and that's for worship. Now, the thing is that yesterday's incident made our community angry. And instead of reacting, that's what they want us to do. But let's be like Jesus and respond. Like Minister Janae Amari said, in righteous anger. And if we look around, and I'm from Mississippi, and what's so wonderful about the state of Minnesota is that it's so diverse. And all of us are from all different places. Celebrate that. I need you and you need me. And God has intentionally braided us together for his purpose and his will to drive out and turn over the tables of injustice.
All right, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. That is a press conference happening right now in Minneapolis from the faith-based community right there. Folks are there on your top of your screen protesting. It's a live look there in the streets of Minneapolis following that ICE-involved shooting. Below, we are set to hear from the White House. That White House press briefing is set to get underway in just moments, but we're going to come back here at home and we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, so we wanted to cut that break a little short to take you here to the White House press briefing. Let's take a listen in.
The deadly incident that took place in Minnesota yesterday occurred as a result of a larger, sinister, left-wing movement that has spread across our country, where our brave men and women of federal law enforcement are under organized attack. Right now, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers are facing a 1,200% increase in assaults, a 3,200% increase in vehicle rammings, and an 8,000% increase in death threats. ICE agents are faithfully enforcing federal law to protect the safety of the American people by removing criminal illegal aliens from our country, which is exactly what nearly 80 million Americans elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance to do. Radicals in the Democrat Party are furious over this. They don't want our border secured or criminal illegal aliens being removed. As a result, Democrats are impeding immigration enforcement operations daily, creating extremely heightened and dangerous circumstances that make it nearly impossible for the men and women of law enforcement to simply do their jobs. Democrats are calling to defund federal law enforcement agencies who are protecting public safety. And Democrats are calling to abolish ICE and defund the police. That will never be allowed to happen under this president and vice president. The Trump administration will redouble our efforts to get the worst of the worst, criminal illegal alien killers, rapists, and pedophiles off of American streets. The Department of Homeland Security will continue to operate on the ground in Minnesota, not only to remove criminal illegal aliens, but also to continue conducting door-to-door investigations of the rampant fraud that has taken place in the state under the failed and corrupt leadership of Democrat Governor Tim Walz. Taxpayers have been ripped off to the tune of billions of dollars in this one state alone, and that is going to end, and people are going to be held accountable. The Trump administration has activated thousands of federal agents, doubled the number of U.S. attorneys in the DOJ office in Minneapolis, and surged resources to hold fraudsters accountable and demand justice for law-abiding American taxpayers and citizens across our country. And that's what brings the Vice President out here with me today to discuss all the Trump administration is doing and to make an additional important announcement on this front. So please, Mr. Vice President, will be joining us now.
Guys. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I want to echo some of what Carolyn said about what we're doing to combat the rampant fraud that exists in our immigration system, thanks to failed politicians and thanks to people who allowed the American taxpayer to be taken advantage of for far too long. I think it's important to understand why this matters to the American people. I am a father of 3 young kids, a lot of people in my generation. What is that going on there? Is that normal? Okay. CNN installed this broken camera just to throw me off my game, but it's not going to work. So here's the simple fact here. If you're a young parent struggling to afford childcare in the United States of America, there are programs that we have to make it easier for your kids to get in daycare, for your kids to get in preschool. Those programs should go to American citizens, not be defrauded by Somali immigrants and others. Make it hard for you to get the access to the resources you need. But number 2, making it easier for people who shouldn't even be in this country to fleece the United States and our taxpayers to begin with. We have actually activated a major interagency task force to make it possible to get to the heart of this fraud. We have Department of Agriculture resources that are focused on SNAP fraud so that people who need food benefits can get them, but illegal aliens and other fraudsters don't. We have over 1,500 subpoenas that the Department of Justice has issued to get to the heart of the fraud ring. We've done almost 100 indictments, mostly Somali immigrants, but also a few others. And of course, we're looking in with broad investigatory authority to a number of the instances of wrongdoing that we've seen in Minneapolis. But we also want to expand this. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, it's also happening in states like Ohio. It's happening in states like California. And so what we're doing in order to help coordinate this remarkable interagency effort from the Trump administration, but also to make sure that we prosecute the bad guys and do it as swiftly and efficiently as possible, is we are creating a new Assistant Attorney General position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. Now, of course, that person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way. I want to thank a couple of people for their cooperation, in particular Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, first of all, for getting a lot of resources to Minneapolis to start to investigate and prosecute this fraud, really at an industrial scale. We've never seen fraud like this in the history of our country. Pam has been doing a great job to get the resources there to uncover it, but importantly, creating a job like this often takes months, sometimes even longer. When we realized that we needed this Associate Attorney General position, Pam got this person up and running in about a week. We're going to make the nomination hopefully in the next few days. We'll obviously let you guys know who that is when we do it. I've talked to Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who has promised me swift confirmation for this official, but this is the person who is going to make sure that we stop defrauding the American people. Here's one final thing I'll say about this. I've heard a lot of people say that we need a special counsel to investigate fraud in the United States of America. I actually agree, and that's what this position does. It has all the benefits, all the resources, all the authority of a special counsel, but with 2 crucial differences. Number 1, it will be run out of the White House under the supervision of me and the President of the United States. And number 2, it's actually constitutionally legitimate. As you guys may know, the special counsel statute has some major constitutional questions. When we get the bad guys, we want to make sure we get them permanently and they don't have some legal technicality they can get out of, which is why we set it up as an associate attorney general. I'll take some questions, but I want to make just one final observation here. When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement, this was an attack on law and order, this was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE, I stand with ICE, we stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to read a quote from Tim Walz earlier today. He said, "When things looked bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held the line for the nation on July 3rd, 1863, and I think we may be in that moment now." Can you comment on his rhetoric and Mayor Jacob Frey and whether they want to see unrest in Minneapolis?
Well, that's very tough rhetoric from a guy who just quit because his fraudulent activities have been uncovered. Look, Tim Walz is a joke. His entire administration has been a joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe, in fact, has participated in fraud. That's what this new Assistant Attorney General position is going to find out. I don't care what Tim Walz says. I care about getting to the bottom of this fraud for the American people, and I care about enforcing the nation's immigration laws. That's what we're going to stay focused on.
Vice President, a related question here. I mean, Democrats have accused ICE of murder. They've said they're targeting Americans. They've told ICE to get the F out of Minnesota. This is going to stoke the fire against ICE agents, and you're talking about ICE agents right now and being concerned about them. What, if anything, is the administration going to do to make sure these folks are protected during these protests? But also, should DHS sort of revisit their procedures here? I mean, nobody wants to see an American killed. Are there changes that need to be made to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Look, first of all, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy, but it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents are engaging in wide-scale violation of people's rights. What our ICE officers are doing is deporting the millions of criminal aliens that were let in during the Biden administration. So number one, we have to say, as a matter of leadership, and I would appreciate if the Democrats would join me on this, let's be honest about the fact that we have way too many illegal aliens in this country. Our ICE officers should be supported in doing their job. You're trying to actually marshal the far left lunatic fringe to engage in doxing, to try to make it impossible for them to enforce the law, and in some cases actually to engage in acts of domestic terrorism against our law enforcement officers. When you talk about different plans, different protocols, different policies, I forget exactly how you asked the question. Here's the simple fact. What we're going to do is make it easier for the American people's administration to enforce the American people's law. And that means that Democrats have to stop rallying the mob against legitimate law enforcement operations, and that means that we are going to get tougher, and that's what this AAG position is about. We're going to get tougher at the people who are defrauding the United States by inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's one of the things that we're going to do. We've already started that work at the Department of Justice, but we're going to keep on doing it, and this new AAG position is going to kick that into high gear.
Vice President Vance, you just suggested that this woman who was killed, Renee Good, is part of a broader left-wing network. Who do you think is behind this broader left-wing network?
Well, it's one of the things we're going to have to figure out, but here's the way that I put it. When somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent, or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who paid for the brick? And who told protesters to show up and engage in violent activity against our law enforcement officers? You see, just with this most recent terrible incident in Minneapolis, you see friends of this woman's or other people who are eyewitnesses saying basically that she was there to engage in obstruction of a legitimate law enforcement operation. How did she get there? How did she learn about this? There's an entire network, and frankly, some of the media are participating in it, that is trying to incite violence against our law enforcement officers. It's ridiculous, it's preposterous, and part of our investigatory work is getting to the bottom of it. Who's funding it? Who's supporting it? Who's cheerleading it? And of course, if there's illegal activity related to that, we're going to get to the bottom of that and prosecute it where we can.
Vice President, thank you for taking questions today. Is there a risk with you describing her as a deranged leftist, talking about very specific facts of these events, when an investigation is just beginning? Are you preempting a thorough investigation by drawing such conclusions? And have you received any information beyond the videos we've seen publicly about this individual, her specific acts, that has informed your point of view?
Well, first of all, the Department of Justice is going to investigate this. The Department of Homeland Security is already investigating this. But the simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that. You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy, while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe, against our law enforcement officers. I think what is clearly happening here, and it's going to keep on happening unless the Democrats wake up and say, you know what, you don't have to agree with our immigration policies, you don't have to agree with what the president or the vice president believe about immigration enforcement, but why don't you take this to the ballot box? Why don't you vote? Why don't you organize? Instead, what some of them are doing is encouraging people to get violent with our law enforcement officials. It's disgraceful, and it's got to stop.
Just to follow up on that question, and again, thank you for taking questions, Mr. Vice President. There's clearly a lot of emotion in Minnesota, across the country, over this incident. You're calling Renee Good a deranged leftist. There's been heated rhetoric that we've also heard from officials. What responsibility do you and the president have to diffuse some of the tension that we are seeing play out in Minnesota, bring down the temperature as this investigation is unfolding?
What we have a responsibility to do is to protect the people who are enforcing the law and protect the country writ large. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, you deserve to have the people's laws enforced in the United States of America. Now, again, I'm not happy that this woman lost her life. I'm not happy that this woman was there at a protest violating the law by interfering with a law enforcement action. I think that we can all recognize that the best way to turn down the temperature is to tell people to take their concerns about immigration policy to the ballot box. Stop assaulting and stop inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's the best way to take down the temperature. And we're not going to give in to terrorism on this. And that's exactly what's happening. People trying to antagonize, to commit acts of violence. They throw bricks at them. Sometimes they shoot at them. Sometimes they dox them. Sometimes they go to their place of residence and harass their families. This is classic terrorism. And we cannot say that when a far left fringe is inciting violence against our brave law enforcement officials, that we're no longer going to enforce the law. That's rewarding the very people who are engaged in this garbage. The actual reward that they just got is a new assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate this stuff even more aggressively than before.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my question. So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. Go ahead.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. What is, I'm sorry guys, what's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
Mr. Vice President, I mean, you presumably watched the video yourself. There's not the slightest doubt in your mind, having viewed it, that the victim, you still believe that she deliberately tried to ram him despite seeing this video?
Look, I don't know what is in a person's heart or in a person's head, and obviously we're not going to get the chance to ask this woman what was going on. What I am certain of is that she violated the law. What I am certain of is that that officer had every reason to think that he was under very serious threat for injury or in fact, his life. What I'm certain of is that she accelerated in a way where she ran into the guy. I don't know what was in her heart and what was in her head, but I know that she violated the law, and I know that officer was acting in self-defense. It raises an interesting point, though. Look, if people want to say that we should have a legitimate debate about, you know, what was she really doing, right? Was she panicking when she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation. What's not reasonable is for so many of you to plaster all over the media that this was an innocent woman and that the ICE agent committed murder, which is what many of you have said explicitly and some of you have said implicitly. That's what I have an objection to. The idea that this was not justified is absurd, and I think everybody knows it in their heart. Yeah.
Mr. Vice President,
in the green jacket.
Taking down the temperature, it seems like political violence is ratcheting up and riots could be around the corner. What steps does the administration have planned to try to unite America? Average people on both political sides are so tired of fighting with each other, and I think all the journalists in this room could agree with me that we don't want to be part of the problem. Do you
I
have any?
appreciate that.
Do you have any words to unite America?
You know, I know you don't want to be a part of the problem, and I think that's true of a lot of you. I'm not sure it's true for everybody, because the reporting over this has been one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen in media. I've never seen a case so misrepresented and misreported when you have a guy who is defending himself and is now being treated as some sort of federal assassin by so many of the people in this room. First of all, let me say about crime. You mentioned violence. One of the things we're proudest about is that you saw violent crime over the last year drop by 20%. Why is that drop by 20%? Is it because we're attacking our law enforcement officers, or is it because we in the administration are empowering our law enforcement officers to enforce the law? I think that's one of the ways you take down the temperature, is you make people feel more secure and safe in their person and property. That's why we care so much about protecting our law enforcement, because it accrues to the benefit of the entire national community. I think that we can absolutely talk about the ways in which, you know, we can lower the temperature by discussing differences in a reasonable and rational way. Again, I'm happy to talk with any congressional Democrat or any of you about our immigration policy, about why I think it's necessary, about why I think it's in the best interest of the country, about why the President of the United States was elected to actually enforce the border for the first time in at least 4 years. So here's the problem. That's not the debate so many people are having. They are actively covering for people who are committing acts of violence against federal law enforcement. It is preposterous. The way to take down the temperature is to stop it. Have your debates about policy. Attack me. Attack the President of the United States. Don't attack our law enforcement officers. They are trying to do the job the American people demanded that they do. They are not policy actors. They are enforcing the law. They should be treated with a modicum of dignity and respect. And the fact that they're not is why incidents like yesterday happened. The one final point I'll make about this is, look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. What's your message, following up on that, what's your message to the leaders in Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, to calm down the situation on the ground, on the streets? What's your message also to those protesters who saw that video in a completely different way than you saw that video?
Well, first of all, I think if you watch every angle of that video, there is one angle where if you squint, you can maybe tell yourself that it's not clear what happened. But when you look at all angles of that video, it is very clear that her vehicle went right for the guy. She actually collided with him, and then that's, of course, when he fired his shots. That's obvious, okay? So what I'd say to the protesters is, by all means, protest peacefully, but make this about ideas. Make this about disagreement with our policy. Don't use your protest as a justification or an encouragement for people to go and incite violence and participate in violence against our law enforcement officials. To the people on the ground in Minneapolis, meaning the local officials in Minneapolis, from Tim Walz on down, I'd say, look, why can't you just disagree with a given piece of immigration policy without turning law enforcement into the enemy? And think about, for example, a criminal law, where a police officer goes and arrests somebody because they violated a criminal law. If you're mad about that, go and protest the politician who passed that law. Don't attack the police officer who's just doing their job. We had a wide open border under Joe Biden. I happen to think it's a good thing the President of the United States has closed it down. If you think that's a bad idea, criticize this administration for a policy decision. Don't attack our people for enforcing the law, because I guarantee you go to ICE, there are black people and white people, there are Democrats and Republicans, they are patriotic Americans who are trying to enforce the law. Attack me, lay off of our ICE agents. Yeah, in the blue, all the way, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice President. You called on Tim Walz to resign. Can you lay out the case as to why he should step down?
Well, look, I think Tim Walz should resign because it's very clear either that he knew about the fraud in Minneapolis, he knew about the welfare fraud, or at the very least he looked the other way. I mean, this is not this is not like Lex Luthor, right? This is not movie villain fraud. This is the lowest IQ possible fraud. This is, we're going to take kids, or sorry, we're going to take the absence of kids and set up a daycare center where there are no children, and we're going to call our early childhood education center the Quality Learning Center. By the way, if you can't spell learning, maybe you shouldn't be in early childhood education. But people got rich off of this. We know that there were schools who either had no enrollment or at least they overstated their enrollment. Tim Walz, either it was unbelievable incompetence or he was in on the fraud. That's one of the things we're going to get to the bottom of. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Can you explain the difference between this Associate Attorney General and a special counsel? And do you envision this being a permanent position or having more of a limited scope?
Well, it's going to be permanent until we get to the bottom of what's going on, so I think it's going to last for at least the remainder of the administration. What's different about it from a special counsel is, if you remember, the Jack Smith case where the special counsel was found unconstitutional, one of the big issues there is that that person was not an appointed person, completely aside from all the other issues, that the person was a lunatic and that the case had no merit. There was a fundamental constitutional issue, which is that he had not been appointed by the president and he had not been confirmed by the United States Senate. An assistant attorney general, what that's going to allow us to do is appoint this person, have them confirmed by the Senate. That's one difference. The more substantive difference is that this person is going to be part of a very broad interagency White House that's being led from the President of the United States on down, and that's going to give them the resources, the access to material and information to make this person more effective. I think a lot of people have asked, how are you really going to get to the heart of the fraud? We've been asking ourselves that question for the past couple of months, and we think this is the critical piece at the Department of Justice to really ramp this fraud investigation into high gear. In the red tie, yeah.
Vice President Vance, I wanted to ask, what's your message to far leftist agitators who feel emboldened to obstruct ICE activity in Minnesota and around the country?
Well, I think they shouldn't feel emboldened because now they have an assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate their fraud and their violence more aggressively than it has ever been investigated in the United States of America. We are doing so much to try to find the financing networks and the domestic terrorism networks that legitimate this violence, that fund this violence, and that, of course, engage in the violence. These people should not feel emboldened because they have, for the first time, maybe in American history, an administration that is not going to tolerate political violence of any kind from anywhere.
Yeah. We made clear today that the entire weight of the federal government is behind these ICE agents and this ICE agent in particular. There is still a federal investigation happening on the ground. Does that mean that they are not looking into this ICE agent at all? They are just focused on the woman who was in the car? What is the investigation if the federal government has already determined that its weight is behind this ICE investigation?
So what do you mean, when you say investigation, do you mean investigation of the shooting yesterday or of the fraud that's happening in Minneapolis?
Yesterday. Okay,
look, DHS, as I understand it, has an investigation already ongoing. I know that other organs of our government are looking at this. So yes, there is certainly an investigation that's happening right now. But as part of the broader fraud investigation, a lot of what we're doing with the Department of Justice has already started. We've got over 1,500 subpoenas. We've got people this morning, actually, we're going door to door to actually knock on some of these fraudulent care centers, these fraudulent social services organizations to get to the bottom of what's going on there. So the investigation in some ways has already been ramping up into the anti-fraud element for at least a few weeks. What we're trying to do is supercharge it and make sure there's a designated person within the Department of Justice who completely controls that particular focus.
Yeah. Just to follow up on that, Mr. Vice President, on the agent, is he still on duty or has he been placed on leave, on administrative leave? And what really was the target of the operation on Wednesday? Of the ICE operation on Wednesday?
Well, first of all, it was a legitimate law enforcement operation. We were going door to door to try to find criminal illegal aliens and deport them from the United States of America, because if you come to our country illegally in violation of our immigration laws, then we have the mandate, and in fact we have the legal duty to enforce those immigration laws. Whether he's been placed on administrative leave, I don't know the answer to that question. I'd refer it to the Department of Homeland Security and they can follow up. I will say, look, I would appreciate everybody saying a prayer for that agent. Look, in the past 6 months, he has been hit twice by a motor vehicle. One time, the first time, it led to over 30 stitches and very serious injuries to his legs. This is a guy who's actually done a very, very important job for the United States of America. He's been assaulted, he's been attacked, he's been injured because of it. He deserves a debt of gratitude, and I think the media prejudging and talking about this guy as if he's a murderer is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen from the American media. Yeah.
Vice President, what is your specific role in the future of Venezuela? And I'm wondering, could you confirm reports that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was kept out of the planning for the operations because of her past concerns about military involvement in Venezuela?
So I've heard a couple of things. One, that I was kept out of the planning for the Venezuela operation. That's false. And another, that Tulsi was kept out of the planning for Venezuela operations. That's completely false. Look, we're all part of the same team. And one of the things that is really amazing about that operation is that we kept it very tight to the senior cabinet level officials and related officials in our government. And we kept this operation secret for a very long time. I'm very proud of that. I think it suggests that the team works very well together. Well, looking ahead, what is my role? Look, my role is going to be whatever the president asks me to do.
Has he asked you to do something yet?
Well, every single, or I should say every other day, I'm chairing the meeting that we do on this among White House principals to talk about next steps to try to ensure that Venezuela is stable, and as the president has directed us to do, to ensure that the new Venezuelan government actually listens to the United States and does what the United States needs it to do under our country's best interest. So I'm going to be as involved as the president wants me to be. So far, that's been very involved, and I'll keep on doing that so long as the president asks me to do it. In the purple.
Yes.
Even beyond the war powers
Sorry,
resolution.
we'll go purple, and then we'll go pink or whatever that is in front.
Royal purple, and then beige. All right.
Okay.
Are there any indications, you talked about the network, are there any indications that the lady who was shot, I know there are different reports.
All right, so that is that White House briefing that is happening right now. That is Vice President J.D. Vance earlier addressing the ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis, now answering questions regarding the situation, the ever-evolving situation in Venezuela. On your top left, you are looking at live a re-election kickoff in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro. And the below, California Governor Gavin Newsom holding a State of the State there in the capital of California, Sacramento. All right, let's come back here at home and let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. The Panthers are in the playoffs. Wild card weekend. They take on the LA Rams. It could be a game. It could be redemption for the Rams, or it could be a big upset for the Panthers. Again, just like in Week 13. But who knows? The game still has to be played. But one thing I do know, Miles Harris here in studio with me. Thank you for stopping by the studio, Miles.
You got me hyped, man. I'm ready to go in, Coach. Come on, man. It's your team, isn't it?
Miles heard Eugene and I earlier as we were
every time. I'm like, my desk isn't that far away from you guys, so I hear it, and I'm like, Eugene's back there. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. You probably heard me today. I was probably the loud one today.
You were loud.
Yeah, I was screaming.
Rightfully
yelling.
so, though.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
You were dirty bird.
I did the dirty bird. I was doing a lot. All right. Let's get to it. Panthers in the playoffs. You got a chance to speak with a former Panthers player because you asked me. You asked me. I'm not going to say his name. I'll let you say it. What do you know about this guy? I said, I know everything about this guy. He made some big catches. Yeah. He was a fan favorite at the time and happened to be on that last playoff team for the Panthers.
Charlotte guy. We're talking about Britton Burson, really, really big. Charlotte guy, Panthers, been on the team, had an interesting story, obviously. Woodford legend, I guess we can say, right?
Yeah.
But really interesting. And you mentioned that. He was on that last playoff run back in 2017 where they lost to the Saints. I had a chance to talk to him. He said that was his last NFL game.
What?
So,
wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy to kind of look at that and go down that memory lane with that. But, getting a chance to talk to him, asked him, hey, what are some of the similarities that you saw from that team that you're seeing with this team? And one thing he mentioned was the run game. Mentioning back to his time with Jonathan Stewart, one of the best running backs, probably the best running back that's ever put on a Panthers jersey, and seeing the success that Rico Dowdle has had at certain points of the season, also seeing the success that Chuba Hubbard has had at certain points of the season, even beyond the season. Those are the big similarities that he saw as far as this team. And so it was just a really good time to kind of get that chance to kind of talk to a former player that's lived and been in the city when it came to that playoff experience. And one thing that he also said that was interesting, though, too, is that he mentioned, the fan, hand when it comes to the success and when it comes to playing in the field. And he was like, they have a lot more to do with this when it comes to the team that's doing well, right? Especially when they're playing in Bank of America Stadium. And so he's like, this is a calling that we need to see those fans back in the stands when it comes to Saturday as well.
I was telling Miles, I was telling Carlene, back in those Cam Newton days. So you got to think from 2011 to about 2017, 2018, you were shoulder to shoulder in the stadium, standing room only. Nobody was seated. It was a madhouse, and the place would absolutely erupt. And there are a lot of people that because of just people move on. It's been so long that don't remember that or have not experienced that. Right. And I'm so excited about Saturday. Did Britton talk about that game? Because I think that playoff game was against the Saints.
Right.
In New Orleans. Did he talk about sort of what he was feeling, what was going through his head? Because he played. He played. And we focus more on just the fact that it's been 10 years since Carolina has hosted a playoff game. So I know 2017 was the last time they were in a playoff game. Yeah. It's been 10 years since they've had it here in the bank. And so we talked more so about that and just really, when the Panthers are doing well, the city's doing well, right? And so that seems like such a cliche thing, but he's like, you see it, you feel it. We see it every time, whether you're in Uptown, whether you're in South End, there's just a little bit more conversation. Heck, I've been in the city for almost 3 years, and I just finally bought some Panthers. Finally bought some Panthers. You were bad luck. No, I'm joking. No. Hold on. Maybe I'll leave it in the closet. No, I'm kidding. But it's kind of crazy. And he's like, I get it. Even when the team's not doing well, it's easy to kind of turn it off or look at something else. But when they're doing well, this is when people kind of come together. Yeah. And he said it's awesome to see that because it gives him that flashback of when he was here back in 2016. And so again, it's awesome to see a guy that's been from Charlotte, that's from Charlotte, that still lives in Charlotte, but is now seeing it kind of, I don't want to say full circle, but just
seeing them relevant again. And so and we even talked a little bit about what's been successful for the team this year as well. And one of your guys he mentioned was Derek Brown.
Oh,
and so
I love DB.
Yeah, and so he talked about that and mentioned how him being able to control the defensive line and even having that success was a big win for them when they were playing the Rams the first go round. And he said, you know, I need to see that again come this Sunday or Saturday when they go up against the Rams again. So that success with that, and obviously seeing that they've been able to try to do at least with the offensive line. And he said that's where it starts. He's like, even as a wide receiver, I know that's where it starts at the line. And so that's what's been working as well for the Panthers when they win those games, but they'll need it again, obviously, against the Rams.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Did he acknowledge how much of a fan favorite he was? Did he recognize how much of a fan favorite?
Humbly, he didn't want to go to humbly.
Okay. He was a fan
and that's the
favorite.
thing. Like I talked to Carboni about it though too, right? And so he mentioned he's like these guys. I mean, they were like seeming like guys were like practice squad guys, but no, these guys were fan favorites, right? And so, and especially when the receiving core was a little bit more depleted, I'll tell you what, he gave a lot of praise. Speaking of receivers, Tep McMillan. Said, you know, seeing him clips that 1,000 yards is very similar to what he saw at least in that first year with Kelvin Benjamin. Obviously, that kind of derailed a little bit with injuries, but just talked about a lot of the potential regardless of the result of how this game goes. Obviously, we want to push for a win, but he says when you have a team that's this young and that they do have a little bit more of a veteran leadership to a degree, like a guy like DB, right? It helps and it matters. And so regardless of whether it's a win or a loss, you take this experience and you try to build on it from there. And so that's the thing that he's mostly looking forward to and seeing it being done. He mentioned that it's a little bit different because, you know, he mentioned guys like Shula and McDermott, guys that are head coaches or
they were coordinators at the time.
And they were coordinators at the time. So it's a little different when it comes to a vibe with that. But he's like, I like what I'm seeing from Canales. And so hopefully they're able to build on it. This is such a young team, man. This is such a young team. And he even talked a little bit about Cam Newton and being a leader. And so that's one that obviously we talked about a little offline too. There's a lot of anticipation with that return as well.
That 2011 to 2017 season Panthers, they raised a generation of fans, not only here in Charlotte, but across the country. When, you know, the commercials to the #1 jersey, to the dab, to the everything. I mean, that whole time period really sort of you talk to somebody who maybe is in their mid to late 20s, they're like, Cam Newton was my favorite player.
And we see that in the NFL now. Remember the Drake May tribute?
Drake May.
That too. And it still happens.
Charlotte's
I mean, I'm an Eagles fan, but even when last time the Eagles came here to play, or one of the most recent times, Jalen Hurts was doing the same thing, the Superman. It's still lives, you know.
Jalen Hurts would have been of that time where he was a kid. When,
exactly.
These guys are young.
No, it's like, hey, don't ask us our age.
Don't ask us. Miles and I are about the same age. These guys are young.
Easily can say that. But again, it's cool to hear former players and the guys that used to wear the black and blue, right? Look and still see the relevancy and see those similarities and familiarities with that. And so we're looking forward to seeing what it looks like on Saturday too. So.
I will say, once a Panther, always a Panther. I look at guys like Sam Mills, rest in peace, Eugene, who played for 1 year, but people think of him, people know of him as a Panther. Britton Burson, Panther for life.
Right.
Once you're a Panther.
Thomas Davis. I mean, this
Thomas Davis. And Thomas Davis played for another team after the Panthers. Jonathan Stewart played for the Giants. So once a Panther, always a Panther. You're always loved. There's always family. When can folks check out that story this evening?
4:30, man.
4:30.
I got a question for y'all.
Oh, go
ahead.
All right, Ticketmaster. What do you think is the lowest price ticket right now on Ticketmaster for Saturday's game?
You go first.
We're talking now. That's
the
lowest price. So you're talking
nosebleed.
You're talking high up, 500.
Okay, so it's an NFL playoff game.
And those are actually really good seats.
It's not a bad seat.
It's not really.
Can I say? I want to reach a little bit. I'm going to say 250. It's probably the lowest.
250.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
Okay. No.
Okay. Ooh.
I didn't guess yet.
Oh, okay.
350.
350.
No.
Okay.
For a single ticket.
You're
looking at 170.
Okay, that's not bad.
That's not that bad. I was surprised as well when I looked it up because I was like, I'm thinking around y'all. I was thinking at least $200 minimum.
Yeah,
right.
At least $200 minimum.
Oh, best believe if Carolina, if the seeding works out and say, I guess it wouldn't be a divisional game, but it would be. I know this is looking ahead, but bear with me. It would be maybe an NFC Championship game if the seeding worked out. Those ticket prices are going to climb.
They skyrocket, right?
Yeah.
You could sit in the 300s for about almost $3,000 for 2 tickets.
See, but here's the thing though. But here's the thing. You bring up a really good point, Carlene, because one of the stories that we were talking about, remember last year on how cheap the tickets were because they weren't doing well.
Yeah.
Talk about the progress from there. They were literally selling tickets for a quarter.
Right.
I just love the vibe because a few years ago, when I was living in Raleigh, longer than a few years ago, I was living in Raleigh, and it was tough to watch. I came for a 49ers game, and CMC was still here with the Panthers. It was his last season with the Panthers. I think he still had a few weeks left before he got traded.
Mm-hmm.
It was a game before Matt Rule got fired. Baker Mayfield was the quarterback, and the vibes were just so low.
Yeah.
So low. And it's just like, oh, man, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is not what I remembered. But it's great to see the city back. And look, the Panthers have gone through ups and downs this season, but I think the morale is high. I think people are optimistic, and that's what you truly want from a franchise.
I'll just say this way. I look at the forecast. They should be optimistic. I'll just put it that way. I know that doesn't seem like that means a lot, but for a team that they're going against that does really well by throwing out of the air.
Yeah, they should be optimistic.
They should be. Yeah. I'll just put it that way.
Miles Harris, man, always enjoy it when you come through the studio.
Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We want to go back out now to Minneapolis, where right now community leaders and civil rights advocates are holding an emergency press conference in response to the killing of Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother, and she was shot and killed by an ICE agent during a federal enforcement operation in South Minneapolis. Let's take a listen in.
The murder of George Floyd that want us to say what we see on that camera is not true. What we see on that camera is murder that is being justified by the highest office of this nation. We will not allow it. We will not allow it. Do not let these people think that politics is about the powerful elite. Politics in this nation is the people. This democracy is built on average Americans across this country. We are the people in the Constitution of the United States. And it's us that must defend our Constitution, defend our laws, and ask for accountability. Because if we do not get justice for Renee, none of us have justice. And we also know that delayed justice is denied justice. And in this moment right now, we know that BCA this morning put out a press statement saying that they are leaving the investigation. We are clear about our demands. We want every agency responsible for the protection of the citizens of this great state and city to take their responsibility. We do not believe in Kash Patel's FBI. They are not prosecuting anything. They're refusing to release the documents on Epstein. They're refusing to actually prosecute those who actually targeted Charlie Kirk and others. They are not an agency that the American public believe is going to bring justice. We know justice, it must be done by the local agencies. We are asking both the Minneapolis Police Department, the Hennepin County Sheriff Department, as well as the BCA and others. We have a United States Constitution, but we also have a Minnesota Constitution. We need to use the laws that are on the books to protect Renee, because Renee is all of us. Renee Good is all of us. All the people who have been standing and protesting. Our Constitution is being the question mark. And it is us. So we ask and everyone to call all of these agencies and demand immediately that justice is swift and that this ICE agent is not only prosecuted, but charges are presented. We know the FBI is going to act like they're investigating, but all we have heard from Kristi Noem and the FBI is a story that contradicts the eyewitness and the videos that we all have seen. Finally, I know how painful yesterday has been for our state. But I will just say this and echo one more time. I believe in this state, and I believe in each other, and I believe that there's goodness in Minnesota and Minneapolis. Last night I witnessed the love on the streets of Minneapolis. I saw people coming in tears, worried, who came to the site in the vigil. And I know we are angry in this moment, but let's use our frustration and anger for change. Let's not let Renee Good's life and her murder be in vain. We are getting a second chance, Minneapolis, after the murder of George Floyd, to get it right. To get it right. No human should be killed in the manner that you saw Renee be killed. And no lie is big enough for all of us to be able to not contradict it. We know what we saw on that video. Renee was leaving and she was shot. This mother, this incredible person that we have lost in this greatest state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis, we must not let her death be in vain. She is no longer with us, but she left us a question, and that question is, what are we going to do? And it starts with accountability, and it starts with justice, and then it starts with us recognizing that ICE is not above the law, neither anyone is above the law, and we need that. So we are calling for all of these agencies to stand up. We know that in this moment that the arc of justice does not bend on its own. It needs all of us. If we want justice, we must be part of that call. We must demand justice by any means necessary.
Thank you, Jelani. Next, we will hear from Abon from Ayada Leeds. Let's welcome her, please.
Good afternoon. Yesterday, Renee Good, a beloved community member, a daughter, and a mother, woke up and began her day with the same intention so many carry, to look out for her community. That commitment cost her life. Immigration enforcement should never place our community in harm's way. It is a civil process, not a militarized action. and it must be carried out, without weapons or force that endangers human lives. When armed tactics are used against immigrants, many of whom are unarmed and simply trying to live, work, and have a regular day, that reaches not only individuals, but the entire community. The depth of this trauma is unmistakable. Minneapolis public schools are closed, a stark reflection of how profoundly our community has been impacted, and that's unfair. We shouldn't be continually be traumatized. We are neighbors, co-workers, parents, and the people who keep up our community and our culture alive. We are raising children, building businesses, and supporting one another. Our humanity does not disappear during an enforcement encounter.
That's right.
It is constant, inherent, and deserving of protection. Community safety means protecting every life. Without exception, we call for immigration practices rooted in dignity, de-escalation, and respect, and for an end of enforcement approaches that rely on fear and violence. Our community deserves policies that keep families whole and allow everyone to live, contribute, and belong without the constant threat of harm. I want to send, our entire community wants to send our condolences to Renee Good's family, friends, and her neighbors. May her life and action be remembered in our city, in our state. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Michelle Gross, the president of Communities United Against Police Brutality. Let's welcome Michelle.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Gross, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E-G-R-O-S-S. I am the president of Communities United Against Police Brutality, and I wish to talk today about the local connection to law enforcement. In November, Minneapolis Police Chief O'Hara made a comment blaming crime in Minneapolis on Somali youth. That comment was like throwing red meat to a rabid dog. The Trump administration ran with it, sending ICE agents to attack our community, and he has since been threatening to send troops in as well. Then, of course, since then, a social media slop broker manufactured a story about fraud that had already been prosecuted, amplifying the attack on the Somali community and prompting Trump to send in 2,000 more federal agents. The community has stepped up to this challenge. Every day, regular Minneapolis residents devote hours to documenting ICE conduct, warning our neighbors, bringing food and other goods to neighbors who are sheltering in place, and providing other support. These efforts have blunted some of the worst of what ICE tries to do. This is the real reason the agent killed Renee. She was one of many observers documenting their behavior. Other ICE agents have shown up at observers' homes or called them on their personal cell phones with threatening messages. Yet even after this horrific violence by ICE, the community continues to go out and do what we need to do to keep our neighbors safe. There are literally hundreds of people in the streets right now as we speak, driving around, checking ICE and their conduct. Yet the role of the Minneapolis police in all of this remains problematic. Back on June 3rd, the MPD fully assisted ICE by escorting them to the site of their raid on Lake Street and then escorting them out again. Since then, after the strong rebuke by the community, they have gone the opposite direction, staying very hands-off and stepping into address and failing to step in to address obviously unlawful conduct by ICE, although both the separation ordinance and their own policy allows them to intercede. In fact, O'Hara said that if they get calls regarding ICE illegal activity, they would be forwarded to 311 and treated as low priority calls. That's what he said. Yesterday, though, was a new low. MPD and their SWAT team showed up just after the shooting, but not to address or arrest the perpetrator, but to engage in crowd control and to escort ICE, including the shooter, out of the area.
Yep, say that.
It does not appear that they even bothered to learn the identity of the shooter. This is deeply troubling. It's clear after yesterday that we're the ones who keep us safe, but we need prosecuting authorities locally to help us, because none of us can bring charges against the agent who killed Renee Good or the other agents who assisted him. And we're not going to wait for the FBI whitewash to cover this up.
That's right.
At minimum, that agent should be sitting in jail right now awaiting a trial.
Yes. Yes.
Right now. Rather than spin and lies from the White House, we need evidence and truth in a courthouse. Many people have asked whether ICE agents can be arrested and prosecuted locally. They can if they commit crimes that break Minnesota law. And many law professors have written articles about that. So yes, they absolutely can be arrested and they can be prosecuted here locally, and they should be. Murder is an egregious crime and it must be prosecuted. Therefore, we demand that the agent who committed this crime be arrested and prosecuted by our local authorities and in the community where this outrageous crime happened. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Monique Cullers-Doty, who is one of the founders of Black Lives Matter Minnesota. Let's welcome her.
Love y'all. Thank you so much. So here we are again. Now, this is the first time that we've had one of our family murdered by ICE. But we are no stranger to police and law enforcement homicides in the Twin Cities. And we do not need ICE here adding to the body count.
Yep.
So I say, get the ICE out. It is time. We have seen the terror that Donald Trump and his administration has unleashed across the country. We have seen how white supremacists have been emboldened. We have seen the attacks on all kinds of people, but right now, we are seeing the attacks on pretty much everyone in this country. And what it boils down to is that America has never addressed its love affair with white supremacy. Come on. Come on. That America has never rendered the call for the injustices against people.
All right, so right now you're watching live there in Minneapolis as community leaders speak out after that ICE-involved shooting there in Minneapolis on yesterday. We'll get back to that and more developments as they come into our newsroom and here inside the Live Impact news stream. All right, so we want to switch gears now. We want to come back here at home and we want to talk about a story in Rock Hill. So take a look, listen to this. Tonight, a historic downtown building in Rock Hill is getting new life. The former Andrew Jackson Hotel is being transformed into the Lantern Hotel, blending history with a future focus on inclusion. Anna King is live in her car in Rock Hill. Anna, talk about this project. This sounds cool.
Yes, I'm here along the busy main street here in Rock Hill. That's where this hotel will be reopening. It's being reimagined and seeing so much new life. I got to walk through it a little bit earlier today, which was amazing. Personally, I love seeing just older buildings with a lot of history, where they're not taking the history out of the building and modernizing it. So that's what we got to see a little bit of today. So you still got to see the beautiful arches and just the ceilings and all of the just the history that they're really trying to preserve in this building. But that's not even the most beautiful part of it. It's the fact that they are taking an extra step and looking to hire those with disabilities in this hotel. So that's amazing. They're really just trying to, they told me, change the conversation here, showing that those with disabilities can still do the same things that many of everyone else can do. So that's really what they're trying to do here. It's really beautiful.
And Anna, before I let you go, when will the hotel be complete?
They're working right now, so you will get to see kind of on when the story airs, you'll get to see where they are now versus where they hope to be. But they are hoping to have this hotel completed by the end of this year. They said around mid-December, but they have their work cut out for them. Going through this hotel, they have a good bit of work, it seems, to do. And they did tell me they are facing a few challenges with this hotel when it comes to preserving the history. So they are saying before the hotel had maybe 2 rooms on each level, and each room had a bathroom outside of the rooms. When you go to hotels now, you do not see that. You have a bathroom inside of your room. So they're trying to get the plumbing and everything together while still, again, preserving that history. So it's really amazing.
Pretty cool. We look forward to seeing your story this evening, and you can catch Anna's story at 6:15. Anna, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We want to go back out to Minneapolis, where community leaders are holding a press conference after that ICE-involved shooting from yesterday. Let's take a listen in.
Clark. But when the city burned, after George Floyd, all of a sudden there were some charges. So for those who are on the media talking about, don't burn it down, don't set it on fire, let me tell you this, we need justice and we need it now. Yeah. Because what happens after that is on your hands. All power to the people. All power to the people.
We'll hear from Tucson Morrison, a longtime organizer in the community.
I would first like to commend the brave students and staff of Minneapolis Roosevelt High School who stood up against ICE. I'd also also like to commend all the hotel workers who have stood up against ICE, refused them service, or have taken the day off of work to not serve ICE. That's right. When I see all the cops looking here, when I see all the sheriffs looking here, if a student at Minneapolis Roosevelt High School can do it, you can too. You can too, come on! And so can the governor, and so can Mary Moriarty come down here and make an appearance, and so can every elected official that got their campaign in blood on George Floyd. Okay, yeah. Ran their campaign on state-sanctioned violence, got their position, and are now nowhere to be found. Right. I don't want to make any mistake about it. Renee Nicole Good was murdered. Right. That's right. Renee Nicole Good was lynched in public. She was publicly executed. And as Michelle said, the MPD showed up to get the perimeter, not to make an arrest. Right. It shows you the teeth that they have for their own community, but not for domestic terrorism being levied onto Minneapolis. It shows you when they're quiet about something, and then when they're going to say something, when a false narrative is put out about fraud in Somali daycares. That's right. I grew up in Riverside Plaza, and I could tell you right away, ICE had no clue what they were doing, because when they entered the facility, they looked lost. Yeah. They looked like me when I was 4 years old when I came to Minneapolis. It's a labyrinth in there. And I grew up with Chinese, South Korean, East African, West African, Egyptian, white, black people there. ICE is not being deployed to Mississippi and Arkansas to teach kids how to read. They're being deployed to Minneapolis to turn the state blue. Let's just understand what's happening right now. That is what is happening right now. Make no mistake about it. And for all the people and all the conservative content creators showing different angles of the shooting of Renee Nicole Good, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, why are so many people recording it? Yeah. Because nobody trusts the law enforcement here. And why don't people trust the law enforcement here? Because they've carried out public executions since June 15th, 1920 in Duluth. So we've looked at over a century of people being publicly killed by law enforcement and then told to go home and then told that we're wrong for what we just saw. Yeah. So what we're seeing right now is a false narrative put out from Trump saying that he's surprised this officer is still alive and had to go to the hospital, when in reality, we all saw him just walk down the street and wave people off. Did you see the same video I saw? Yeah. Did you see the same video I saw? Yeah. And then we have Kristi Noem, which we all knew what the first lie was, adverse conditions. Right. This is Minnesota with 40 degrees. This is balmy. These are not adverse conditions. That was the first lie, where we knew that what she was saying was going to victim blame the person that was killed. Come on. And that's what they keep doing. That's what they keep putting out. And they want you to believe that Renee had this coming, that George Floyd had this coming, that Delal Eid had this coming. And then they want you to go home. If the MPD can't do anything about this, but yet they can do something about any black person just going about their business, what does that say? If the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department can pull over anybody they want and do false searches, what does it say about doing nothing about this? Come on! There's a message for the DA right now in Hennepin County. There's a message for John Choi. There's a message for Keith Ellison. There's a message for the new DA, the candidates that are coming into Hennepin County. You better have some teeth. You better be able to do something. Because a lot of these cowards here in uniforms with badges on, they wouldn't be able to hold their ground at Minneapolis Roosevelt High School. Hello. What does that tell you? That the people here, all of you here that showed up, are doing more than the people that get paid to show up here. That's the state that we're looking at. And right now, we need to take toll of who voted for this. Who wanted this? Who said nothing about this while it was happening? Who said nothing when they pulled up on Lake Street and said it was a raid, but then terrorized all of our Latino and African and brown and black family? Who are the people that signed off on this? When Georgia Ford pulled up on Axel Henry a few weeks ago, that interview has not aged well. That man lied through his teeth and said that he did not assist ICE, when we all saw St. Paul Police Department badges assisting ICE. He's doing the same thing as Trump. So if you got a St. Paul police chief lying through his teeth assisting ICE, you have Lisa DeMuth saying that she supported Nick Shirley, coming in here and addressing fraud and only attacking black communities but not showing up to a single white daycare in Cold Spring. What does that say? You have Mike Lindell that makes this state an embarrassment, and then you have Chris Medell who defends killer cops. Look at the candidates that you have. Look who voted for this. And then you have Brad Finstad, a House representative, who said, this is a somber reminder of the dangers that ICE faces every day. And he's in New Ulm. I'm saying this right now to white communities in Cold Spring, in New Ulm, where Brad is at, in Hibbing, in Chisholm. If ICE pulled up to your high school and started pulling people out, how would you feel? Come on. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Understand your history and how you got here in the first place. Do not deny that. And this is tough. And I was thinking about this when Nakima contacted. It was the first thing after Dalal Eid when he got killed. Shot him in the head. And a friend told me the James Baldwin quote, if they take me in the morning, they're going to come for you in the night. You didn't think it had anything to do with you when they were killing black and brown people. You didn't think it had anything to do with you when they were terrorizing Latino and East African students at Minneapolis Roosevelt High School. And then they come out here and kill a white woman, and you see a piece of yourself in it. And you have a fraction of the experience that we as black men have had for a very long time, seeing ourselves in the bodies of Jamar Clark, of Dalal Eid, of George Floyd, of Terrence Franklin, seeing in all of it. And now you see yourself in it a little bit, and you have an opportunity. Take a look around you and who is saying nothing. Take a look around you who has supported this. Take a look around you and look at the candidates that you can vote for. And then also, take a look around you and look at the uniforms that are doing nothing about it. That are doing absolutely nothing about it. If they take me in the morning, they will come for you in the night.
Thank you, Tucson. Next, we will hear from Eliza Darris, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Freedom Fund. Please welcome him.
All right, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are approaching the top of the hour, but you are watching live a press conference there, community leaders speaking out after that ICE-involved shooting. And this is a shooting, an incident that we've been following here on Live Impact News. We've been staying with this coverage since yesterday, since the news broke. Just to catch you up, the woman fatally shot by an ICE agent in Minneapolis on Wednesday has been identified as Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old mother and U.S. citizen. Again, a lot to still sort of parse out. We heard from the Trump administration. They're backing the actions of those ICE agents. They say that she rammed her car into an agent. However, there are videos circulating on social media now picked up by news sites, including our content partners over there at Care 11 in Minneapolis, painting a different picture. But we want to bring in Quentin Williams, former FBI agent and federal prosecutor. Quentin, man, thank you for your time.
Oh, my pleasure, Nick.
As I mentioned before, a lot to parse out with this incident. I just want to ask you, just plainly, you got a chance to look at the situation, look at the video. What did you see?
So I saw a woman who was trying to drive away after being asked to step out of the car. And as she was driving away, an officer who was in front of the car was moving around to the driver's side. And at that point, he unholstered his weapon as she started to move in that right. She started moving. He unholstered his weapon and he shot her. And I am extremely concerned with the tactics of the officer, number one, to get to the point where he was in the line of the car's movement. And then I'm concerned with his decision to fatally shoot her when she was moving.
Speaking of that, what are the factors to determine whether, deadly force is justified in a situation, especially when you're talking about a federal law enforcement officer?
Right. So a law enforcement officer has to feel like they are in imminent threat of death in order to use lethal force. And there's case law on it that states they have to have a good faith that they are in danger. And so that's what his argument will be, no doubt. But the question is, was he in danger? And given the positioning of his body, the positioning of the car, the vehicle as it was moving, the speed at which it was moving, and everything that led up to this, all the circumstances that led up to that moment, was it reasonable for him to feel like he was in danger? You're going to have two different standards. There's no doubt there will be a civil lawsuit. So there are two different standards that are going to have to be met. One is on the criminal side and one is on the civil side. And we will let the courts make that decision. But for me, my concern is that he could have moved out of the way and she may have driven off, but they would have had her license plate and they could have, seen another day with her. That was the case.
As you mentioned, there'll be a criminal case, a civil case, but I think a lot of questions. The big question, the question I've been getting, what are the next steps? Governor Walz, obviously the governor of Minnesota says the Trump administration says, hey, the state is not going to have any role in this investigation. In a federal officer involved shooting, is it normal for the state? I guess it's a two-part question. What are the next steps? In a federal officer involved shooting, does the state normally step in, or would the state normally step in?
Normally, the federal government would be the one to investigate it and then prosecute it if necessary. We're in very different times now, though. And so there is a lack of trust that will be done on the federal level. And there are very capable people with the FBI who are going to investigate this, but there's a lack of trust that the information from those very capable people will get to the Attorney General's desk and she will pursue something. So I wouldn't doubt that the state is going to investigate it. Whether the state prosecutes it is another question, because there's a supremacy clause which will defer to the federal government in with these kinds of issues. I don't know that the state's going to have its day in court, but one thing that the state will have an opportunity to do is to investigate what happened, so they can lay the foundation or the factual foundation for the case. If there is when there's a different administration in office, that administration might want to pursue the case in 3 years.
Everybody saw what happened, or most people saw what happened from the video. The federal government has its story. Advocates, community leaders, the governor, the mayor there in Minneapolis have their story. When it comes to this case, what kinds of evidence are important, or most important when establishing exactly what happened, what played out?
Number one thing that's going to help, and they don't wear body cameras. The Homeland Security agents don't wear body cameras. what I've seen, and they didn't have him on that day. But that video is going to be very important, and all angles of the video will be very important. They will also examine all the forensics on the bullet casings and everything that is of forensic significance. But that video is probably the most important thing that will drive this case.
And another question that comes to mind before I get you out of here, Quentin. Is there a universal like a training standard for law enforcement officers when it comes to, especially at the federal level, when it comes to shooting at a moving vehicle?
Yes, the vehicle has to offer imminent danger to the officer or someone else. That's what has to. That's the standard. And in this case, the officer will say that he was in danger of losing his life. So that's going to be the issue, and that will be the way they respond. The training is a very important question, because we don't know how these agents have been trained. There's been an uptick in the number of agents that have come on duty, and we don't know exactly what their training regimen is. That's something that, through the investigation, will obviously be exposed. So we will know it at some point. It's really important to understand that in order to have a functioning, successful law enforcement agency, just like any business, you have to have 4 components. You have to have great selection, you have to have great training, you have to have accountability, and that accountability is both positive and negative. So discipline and reward. And then you have to have retention methodologies in place. But if you don't get all 4 of those right, you're going to have a house of cards. So if you select the wrong people, but you train them well, it doesn't matter. I think in this case, the selection and the training have been suspect. So who are they selecting? And then how are they training them? Now we see the third aspect of that. Are they making them accountable? Could be in question. We have a lot to examine here, obviously.
Yeah, a lot. Before I get you out of here, I want to pick your brain about this one. So according to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, also we heard from J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, the officer was previously rammed and dragged by a car back in June last year, 2025. He had a serious leg injury. He had dozens of stitches. Should he have still been on duty? Should he have been back on duty? I asked that because the administration threw that out there and alluded to him being traumatized. And in a situation like this, should he have been back on duty?
No, every case is different, so I wouldn't be able to comment on whether he should have been, but there should have been a process to get back on duty. And that process would include therapy, time to recover, and then, of course, an assessment. And I don't know that any of that was done with an assessment or therapy. So we'll find out. That's the one thing that's so good about the investigation, if it's done thoroughly, is we'll find out all of that information, because it's going to be pertinent to get into the state of mind of the agent. Still, though, his actions are going to have to have been reasonable.
Yeah, again, a lot to sort out here. We're just at the beginning of this. Quentin Williams, former FBI agent, federal prosecutor. Quentin, man, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Nick. Have a great day.
You too. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Welcome back here on WCNC Plus inside the Impact Studio. We have some community advocates speaking right now in Minneapolis after the deadly shooting that happened just yesterday of a 37-year-old woman. Let's listen in live.
We have authoritarianism at the federal level, and we have authoritarianism at the state level. So we're calling on Governor Tim Walz to stand up. Minnesota has the third or second biggest racial wealth gap in the United States. This is an excellent time for Tim Walz to address that and do an executive order on reparations for Black Americans whose ancestors descend from U.S. chattel slavery. This is an excellent time for Tim Walz to do an executive order on the George Floyd and Policing Act. This is an excellent time for those in St. Paul to address ICE agents and for the mayor of Minneapolis to follow the mayor of New York's lead and call for ICE agents to be arrested like Mayor Mamdani has done in the great state of New York. No good cops in a racist system.
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 So we have this racist system, and for a long time this racist system would harm and just hurt Black people. You guys just see Black people coming out and you think, oh, they're just complaining, but now you're seeing it spilling over into your community. White supremacy and institutional racism has no boundaries. It's murderous. It kills and destroys, and if it continues to go unchecked, it can creep into everyone's household. So let's come together as Minnesotans. Let's come together as Americans. Let's just come together as the human family and stand up to white supremacy and institutional racism as a community and as a nation together. Indict, convict, send those killer cops to jail. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. Indict, convict, send those killer cops to jail. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. Peace.
We have just a couple more speakers. Next, we'll hear from Satara Strong Allen, a longtime organizer and the executive director of Love First. Let's welcome her.
Let's go, Satara.
Say enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
My heart is heavy, I'm sure, as everybody else's is. And first and foremost, I want to send my condolences to the family of Renee Good, her partner, her child. I want to send my condolences to the teachers and staff at Roosevelt High School and South High School and the students. At first, when I saw the video of Renee Good being murdered in broad daylight by ICE agents, I thought, you know, this is ridiculous that anybody is going to sit by and allow the government to orchestrate attacks on their own citizens. But then I thought back to the experiences we've had here in the Twin Cities. I thought about Jamar Clark. I thought about Philadelphia in the 80s when they dropped a whole bomb on MOVE and the Africa families just for advocating for civil rights and advocating for animals of all things. And I thought, this isn't new, right? And we cannot sit back and allow this man to continue to orchestrate government attacks on their citizens. There's the law. The law, according to the Department of Justice, says, sorry, I'll take my time. According to the Department of Justice, Title I policy on use of force, firearms may not be discharged solely to disable moving vehicles. Specifically, firearms may not be discharged at a moving vehicle unless a person in the vehicle is threatening the officer or another person with deadly force by means other than the vehicle, or the vehicle is operated in a manner that threatens to cause death or serious physical injury, and no other objectively reasonable means of defense appear to exist, which includes moving out of the path of the vehicle. Standing in front of a moving vehicle is called an officer-created jeopardy and danger and is not an excuse. They need to charge that officer with the murder of Renee Good. He was standing on the side, both officers were standing on the side of the vehicle, so they are not in front of it, but even if they were, it is an officer-created jeopardy and danger. The fault lies not on Renee Good for responding to the directions that she was being given by the very same ICE agents who killed her. It falls on the ICE agents and the government to hold these people accountable, these Proud Boys that the federal administration has hired to attack our communities. Thank you.
Indeed.
For our last speaker, Tashira Garraway Allen, Families Supporting Families Against Police Violence. Let's welcome her.
I don't have much of a voice today, so I know you guys can barely hear me. But I needed to come out and speak today because you guys are witnessing what our families have endured over and over and over.
Come on.
You guys are seeing them do an active cover-up after we seen with our own eyes what happened. If they can cover this up while we can clearly see what happened, imagine what they did for the videos that they got to and they were able to tamper with. Imagine what they did for the videos that they would not release to our community and to our families. The only difference this time is they didn't have access to the videos. Our community had the access to the videos. That's why we got the truth. The reason we got the truth, you guys, is because we controlled the truth that got out to the world for the world to see white supremacists and hatred at its finest. But white supremacy does not care who it kills. White supremacy does not care who it hurts. As you can see, they murdered a white woman in broad daylight. White supremacy has one agenda, and that is to control and to stay at the top while people that believe in equality remain at the bottom. Renee Good believed in equality, and she was out there observing, and they murdered her, and we see what happened. But the moral of the story is think about Justin Tigan, who his family has a lawsuit against this same building right now, has a lawsuit because they would not release the videos of the truth of what happened to him. Think about Ricky Cobb. We just stood in this building a year and a half ago for Ricky Cobb. And the governor told Mary Mariotti to drop the charges. You created the stage for what ICE came in here and did to Renee when you denied our families of justice. When you delay justice, you deny it. And an injustice done to one of us is an injustice done to all of us. So this is the time that we band together more now than ever before. Do not argue with each other. Do not go back and forth. We must band together because we have a bigger enemy at large that hates all of us, and that's white supremacy. Thank you. We would call forward Cortez Rice to say the Asada speech. Oh, well, we can take questions first.
Are there any questions? Any questions?
Yes. By any chance, do you all know that the officer, the ICE agent, is going to be detained by the Minneapolis police officers? What do you guys think about that?
Does anybody want to take that?
First and foremost, that is the ask today. The ask is for the agencies that are constitutionally required to take matters that are specifically happening in the city of Minneapolis to do their job. Nothing gives us a clear reminder that a cover-up is clearly on the way by kicking out BCA. But BCA has still a responsibility to step up because it is an law enforcement engaged killing. And so we are asking for the Minneapolis Police Department. We're also asking for Hennepin County Sheriff to begin their own investigation in this matter. And as Tashir and others have said, there is incredible evidence clearly from all the videos and the eyewitnesses who are ready to speak directly to what happened. This is not something that happened in darkness. This happened in light. And the public already knows exactly what happened. Law enforcement need to act swiftly. And this is how we show as a nation, as a country, that the laws are on the books and no one is above those laws. So BCA, Minneapolis Police, and as well as the sheriff need to take their responsibility to uphold the Minnesota Constitution and all of the other jurisdiction constitutions by law, that they are required to respond to the murder of a resident of this great city and of this city as well.
And I see members from the community, Justice Brown, Justice for Mariah Sanders. Could this be viewed, in addition to everything, is a layer of this potentially also like violence towards women, seen as femicide?
It's absolutely violence toward women. The fact that the ICE agent in question knew that he was dealing with a woman, looked her in the face, and fired 3 kill shots shows you that he had no regard for her humanity or her femininity. And we've seen it before. Justine Rusacek-Damon, who was killed by the Minneapolis Police Department as a woman, unarmed, trying to report a crime, shot in cold blood. Not to mention the numerous women being dragged by ICE, being treated like they are not human. It's unacceptable. So for us as mothers, we're outraged. This is despicable and it's unconscionable, but what do we expect when the commander-in-chief is a rapist? What do we expect? Definitely a sexist. And people voted for him anyway, not once but twice. So what does that say about our society? It's absolutely unconscionable and disgusting. Any other questions?
What concrete steps can we the people take today?
Well, Jaylani referenced earlier, one thing that we can do is put pressure on our local elected officials. The governor has authority over the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. We don't give a damn what the FBI has said. There's nothing stopping the governor from forcing the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to conduct its own investigation based on what evidence it has. All they need to do is bring enough evidence to the county attorney to show probable cause for an arrest.
Yes.
And then the rest of the system will play out the way that it needs to. But the governor has authority. He's just not using it. The mayor of Minneapolis, who we saw drop expletives and act outraged, has the authority over the Minneapolis Police Department. As a matter of fact, because of residents in the city of Minneapolis voting to give him sole authority, he can direct the chief of Minneapolis Police to conduct an investigation into the murder of Renee Good. And the Hennepin County commissioners have authority over the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department. And they can direct the Hennepin County Sheriff to conduct an investigation into the murder of Renee Good. So don't fall for the okie doke and think, oh, the FBI took it over, there's nothing that they can do. Why do we have laws on the books that allow local government to bring charges against federal officers if there was nothing they could do? So we as the people need to use our voices. and we need to hold them accountable. I don't care if we voted for them in the past, if we think they're good people, if we think they're nice. It's time out for Minnesota niceness, and it's time for justice and accountability.
100%.
Period.
That's right. We also want to know if this officer right now is even still in Minnesota and engaging in ICE activity. We have no clarity that this person who just murdered this incredible woman is still out. So we need the media, because I will remind you, after the murder of George Floyd, no one is safe. We saw that, including the media, who are trying to get clear information for the public, have been part of the target. And this disinformation that is happening from Kristi Noem and others need to be held at check. We are asking for the media to do also your job in making sure that the hard questions are presented and laid right in front of these leaders who are cowardice in this moment, instead of standing up for justice, not only for Renee, but all the Renees across this country.
Right. Real quick, one of y'all just said that Tim Walz made a call to Mary Mortery to drop the charges with Ricky Cobb. I was in the room when that happened. So is it kind of silly for us to ask Tim Walz to make Mary Mortery do it if we know he didn't do it for a black man?
No, we're not asking Tim Walz to make Mary Moriarty do anything.
Okay.
What we're asking him to do is to exercise his oversight and authority of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension for them to conduct an investigation regardless of what the FBI has said. They're using the FBI's decision to exclude them from the case as a justification to do no investigation at all. When there's plenty of eyewitness statements, as has been said, as well as video evidence that they can begin to analyze in order to present a report to Mary Moriarty or even to Keith Ellison. Whether we trust Keith Ellison or not, the reality is he is the Attorney General. And he has the power to bring charges if he has given a case file that shows probable cause to make an arrest.
Who gives him that case file? Do we know?
It would be if the BCA or the Hennepin County
So if it's
sheriffs.
taken away from the BCA, he won't get that file.
But the BCA, no one's taking anything from the BCA.
Donald Trump has said that Minneapolis and Minnesota cannot do anything about that.
That's not exactly what's happening, right? The FBI, the FBI, in our opinion, at least in my opinion, is attempting to engage in a cover-up.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? That's why they want all the evidence for themselves. But that doesn't mean that there isn't additional evidence out there that a Minnesota-based law enforcement agency can review and bring forward what they have to a prosecutor so that they can determine whether there is probable cause to arrest the ICE agent in question.
That's why we have Ellison to charge the agent for murder.
And I would frankly posit that the video and the eyewitness statements themselves are adequate for probable cause for an arrest. All law enforcement needs in order to arrest someone is probable cause. And I would absolutely posit that that video and the eyewitness statements give them that probable cause. And that is why that man should be sitting in jail right now instead of running around in our community causing more harms.
And to Michelle's point, we have an example in the case of Justine Rusacek Damon. Remember, there were no witnesses and there was no video, but Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman was quick to bring charges against a black Muslim Somali officer who shot and killed Justine Rusacek Damon. And that officer was actually convicted. And Justine's family was paid, $20 million without any other evidence beyond the fact that a white woman was killed. So we know that there's ample evidence to show probable cause for this ICE agent to be arrested. And the fact that he callously left the scene, he didn't even stay. He just walked away because he understood his white privilege. And the fact that he would be protected by an administration engaging in white supremacy and domestic terrorism and abuse of American citizens. I want to also remind us that we can apply pressure to the elected officials at the state as well as the federal level. All these Republicans who are claiming they care so much about fraud, why are you silent with regard to this fraud that's being perpetuated upon this community? Complete silence. So it shows you that they're being disingenuous. And again, Congress has the power to take action. As I said in the beginning, they're the ones who fund ICE. They provide oversight of ICE. So they can do something about ICE. And it's up to us to apply the pressure to make that happen. So we're going to end right there if there are no more questions. We want to thank you all for taking the time to be here. Everybody from the community who showed up, we thank you. Those on the front line showing up, the Whipple building, putting your bodies on the line, we thank you. The media, we thank you for being here. And Cortez Rice wants to end with the Assata Shakur chant. Those words ring true now more than ever.
All right, real quick though, we all see that this is happening to everybody. The time is right now to create the new Rainbow Coalition. Yeah. That means every race, every ethnicity, every religion, let's join together and fight this together. Everybody pissed up. We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Let's make sure she hears us. We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
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 All power to the people.
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 Justice for
Renee Good.
Justice for
Renee Good.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to come back. We'll see you in 2. All right, folks, we are back. And as you probably saw, the clouds are building outside. We're going to see some rain here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Let's get into Larry Sprinkle's weather impact right now.
Good Thursday afternoon. Checking our 4-camera view right here. We have Monroe, Union County, North Carolina, all the way to Lake Norman, to Kannapolis, to Charlotte. Not a completely cloudy day today. Few peaks of sunshine, some blue in the skies, but unseasonably mild temperatures today. Average high is 52. This time of the year, way above that today, especially Friday and Saturday. Then we see a big drop in the temperatures next week. In fact, next Monday, barely making it to 50 for a high temperature. For today, clouds on the increase. Upper 60s, I think maybe areas east and southeast could make it near 70. Cloudy, warm tomorrow and then Saturday. Scattered showers. We're not going to rule out the chance of a few storms. It's the area that could see those, and doesn't mean that every spot on the map will get those thunderstorms out there with that cloud to ground lightning. Over the next 3 days, we talk about the milder temperatures, upper 60s today, and then tomorrow again on Saturday, we're going to be in the low 70s. Remember, the average high once again 52. Hour by hour today, a nice mild afternoon with a few peaks of sunshine, upper 60s, and then as we head towards the evening, even early tomorrow morning, check that out, temperatures in the mid 50s. So lows tomorrow will be above the average high for this time of the year. Enjoy it, because we do have some major changes on the way. Clouds have filtered in, all fair weather clouds. We're not looking at any active weather situation until maybe tomorrow. There may be a couple showers tracking towards the area tomorrow, especially as we head towards the afternoon around 3 o'clock. Not expecting widespread precipitation. Around tomorrow evening, we could see a few areas of light rainfall tracking anywhere along the I-85 corridor right to the Charlotte metro area, up into areas around Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem. It's really Saturday morning early on we start to see the development of the storm system moving into the area. I think the heaviest rainfall actually may be north of here over towards areas in Virginia, and then in the southwestern corner of the state and also into the upstate of South Carolina. There could be some pockets of heavy rain and maybe even a few embedded thunderstorms. That, by the way, that is Saturday morning, 11 a.m. We'll take you about 4 o'clock. Remember, game time 4:30 on Saturday, Bank of America Stadium. Could be some showers out there at that time, and hopefully this computer model holds true, because light rain showers have the poncho handy. Not throughout the chance there could be a stray storm tracking across the area, but not expecting widespread severe weather threat. That severe weather threat really is tomorrow. That includes areas from Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Strong and severe storms in those areas. Once again, that's tomorrow. Now on Saturday, we're in that low end category, so we're included in that in the Charlotte metro area. That does mean there may be some cloud to ground lightning in a couple of spots. The severe weather threat is limited and low. That is good news. Speaking of low, look at the drastic drop in the temperatures over the next 10 days. We go from the 70s over the weekend to the middle of the month in the 40s. 44 degrees on January 15th, and then some very opportunities for some rainfall as we head towards Saturday, game day, at 50%, and probably not until next Thursday we see our next chance of rain. So in many areas the dry weather conditions will continue. I want to talk about some low temperature readings over the next 10 days. Check this out. We got several days with temperatures in the morning in the 20s at that time, so something to think about as we check the Jerry Hunt 7-day forecast. Upper 60s today, low 70s Friday and Saturday, cooling down on Sunday, and then look at Monday morning. That's a low temperature in the upper 20s, barely making it to 50 degrees as we head towards the afternoon. And then looking ahead to next Tuesday and Wednesday, above average temperatures will be in the upper 50s Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. That's your forecast. I'm Larry Sprinkle. Have a great day.
All right, folks, we are going to take another 2-minute break, but on the other side, our sports director, Nick Carboni, is going to be in, and we're going to talk about all things Panthers as they have a big game in 2 days. It's exciting. I actually saw a post on social media just yesterday that it's weird to have Panthers practicing on January 7th or 8th. Well, we're here. A lot of folks have waited a long time for this, 10 years nearly exactly. So we're talking about Cam Newton being in town. There's a whole lot of other legends that'll be in town. Nick Carboni is joining us as well. And Nick, obviously the weather could play a factor. We'll get into some of that in just a second. But what are your first thoughts going into Saturday? This is a humongous game.
This is a cathartic moment for the Carolina Panthers organization, fan base, the city of Charlotte. It's going to be a party, and we'll see what happens at 4:30 when the game kicks off and where things stand at the end of this game. But for this team, after 8 years of a playoff drought, the worst in franchise history, after 10 years of not hosting a playoff game, because 8 years ago they had to go to New Orleans and lost a tough wild card game there, this is just going to be a fantastic moment that's a long time coming.
Yeah.
The fact that Cam Newton is coming back to bang the keep pounding drum. I know that wasn't an easy thing to probably pull off, and it seems like that relationship is heading back in the right direction. So it's just got all of this non-football, like feel-good vibes, healing. Like it's just got this really great feel to it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure that would be the case after they had to kind of, back their way in, so to speak, but I've been proven wrong. I mean, ever since the Falcons won that game Sunday against New Orleans, this has just been like, a party planning week for the entire city.
I love it. Now, aside from the mystique, right, of everything that's going to go on that day, this is going to be a tough one to get it done. They're double-digit underdogs. The Rams are coming back into town, and as I said, it's not going to be as cold. The rain could play a factor into this, but man, this Rams team has improved since the last time both of them have played. You got to think Matthew Stafford's going to want to get this one right, some revenge, and it seems like some of the keys could be our receivers against their secondary. Can you talk a little bit more about that, because we have potentially a Rookie of the Year on our side, right?
Yeah, I think Tetairo McMillan is wrapped up Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL. That would be a wonderful thing for this franchise to be able to claim again. And yeah, you're right. It's the Panthers offense just has to get the run game going first, and then they can go off of that. The last matchup against the Rams in Week 13 was their most balanced offensive attack they've had under Dave Canales. They had the run game going, that set up the throw game. They were great situationally. 2 fourth down touchdown passes by Bryce Young, a big third down pass to Jalen Coker to really seal the victory there. And then defensively taking the ball away from Matthew Stafford, which was extraordinarily hard to do heading into that Week 13 matchup. He only had 2 interceptions, and then he had something like 28 touchdown passes between picks. And then he was picked twice in the first half, and that was without J.C. Horn. That was without starting safety Trayvon Merrick. That was without several linebacker pieces as well. They get most of those guys back for this matchup. But you talk about the spread of this game. I mean, the Rams are favored by 10.5, and that, I believe, is the biggest they're the most favorited team, road team in NFL playoff history in this game.
Wow,
I mean, so
something.
they're heavy favorites, but they were in Week 13. Nobody expected Carolina to win that game. They were coming off a dismal Monday night performance against San Francisco. So, it's going to be hard to beat Matt Stafford twice. He's had 14 touchdown passes in December, and I guess you count last week too as part of December. And he's probably going to be the NFL MVP. He's got 47 touchdown passes to 8 interceptions. But I will say this: the elements and the location could play a factor.
Okay.
The Rams are great at home in the friendly confines of SoFi Stadium. Matt Stafford also was a dome quarterback in Detroit for the first portion of his career. And they're 5-4 on the road. They've lost 3 of their 4 trips to the East Coast this year, including at Carolina. And I mentioned Matt Stafford's 8 interceptions. 7 of them are on the road. Those are the numbers Panthers fans are clinging to this week, because other than that, the advantages all lie with the LA Rams.
I want to dig into that running game because, as you said, that really is going to open things up. And with maybe a sloppy game at Bank of America Stadium, it could be critical for them to get Dowdle going and obviously Hubbard as well. What do you see in terms of the offensive line? They have everybody back, everybody's healthy there, because that's going to obviously play probably a big impact.
Yeah. This isn't like the most flashy position, right guard, But the Panthers should, in my estimation, get their Pro Bowl right guard Rob Hunt back, who's been out since a week 2 biceps tear and had surgery following that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have come back to play unless it was a playoff game. He was kind of on the edge of playing last week, but I think they wanted to see if he could be full strength for a potential postseason game. And it feels like he is. It sounds like he is. He's fully practiced for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
He told us in the locker room yesterday, I think he mentioned at one point, can't wait to see what I can do Saturday, that he feels better this week than last week, and last week he felt better than the week before. It all seems like it's coming down to Robert Hunt starting this game and being able to provide a big push up front in the run game, which has been a struggle, really. I mean, it was their bread and butter in October and November, including 160-plus yards against the Rams in the first matchup, but it's fallen down quite a bit. 19 rushing yards at Tampa last week.
Wow.
They're going to have to maybe deal with the rain, but they're not going to have to deal with the natural grass and the trying to figure out what cleats to wear. They'll be on their home artificial surface at Bank of America Stadium. So getting Rob Hunt back, I think, will be a huge boost to this run game. And listen, Dave Canales isn't going to say he's back. He's gonna make the Rams wait until 90 minutes before the game,
right?
Until he has to notify everybody who's playing and who's not.
As he should. It's
Yeah,
strategic,
absolutely.
man. I do want to talk about one thing that I did see, and maybe it was from your social media page. I saw a video of head coach Canales walking around the field as the guys kind of owned their team, right? They were doing the breakdown, they were having discussion, and I think that kind of epitomizes what he's kind of discussed since he's been in Carolina, kind of having this notion of the players taking ownership, not only of their team, but of the performance, right? On the field, off the field. And it really looks like that's happening, even from that video, right? He allows them to do what they do. And it seems like it's translated to the field this year. What can you talk about that and the way that he coaches and how these guys have really responded to that?
Yeah, he's always told us he wants this to get to be a player-led program, as he calls it. He was in Seattle under Pete Carroll, where that's exactly what it was. And, I think there's criticisms of Dave Canales as a play caller. He's still a very young play caller. He's only been a primary play caller now for 3 seasons, twice here in Carolina, once as the Bucs offensive coordinator. But I think you have to give him a lot of credit for what he's done for the culture in that building, for the way he is able to communicate and motivate his players of all stripes, backgrounds, experience levels. I think you're starting to see that bear out in the ends of seasons, November, December, now January. The last 2 years, the team has really started hitting its stride. And the Panthers haven't had a coach with that kind of leader of men intangibles since Ron Rivera. Frank Reich had it at one point, but it wasn't here. Matt Rule, I'm not even sure we can say he has it at Nebraska right now, the way things are going there.
Right.
Steve Wilkes had it for sure. I don't want to gloss over that at all. But Dave Canales brings that intangible, like I said, to this franchise. And regardless of what happens with his, if he's still the play caller next year or not, I think he has proven himself to be somebody that can lead a team and lead a group.
Let's talk about T-Mac a little bit because we touched on a little bit about Rookie of the Year. His numbers speak for themselves. Had 7 touchdowns, been one of the most reliable guys, not only on the team, but around the NFL in general. How much can you talk about him? And, he really seems to have a chance for this Rookie of the Year thing, right?
Yeah, I think he's the betting favorite, and I think he's wrapped it up. I mean, I don't think there's anybody else. He and Emeka Egbuka from the Bucs were neck and neck. Egbuka was probably further along at some point with touchdowns, and then T-Mac caught up and surpassed him.
Right.
Touchdowns, yards, all that. I think he's got it. And it's been a while in Carolina, probably since Steve Smith, where a coach could go out there and say, the offense flows through this guy. I mean, midway through the season, maybe not even, Dave Canales was already telling us everything goes through T-Mac in the pass game. And, sometimes that's worked, sometimes it hasn't, because he does need other perimeter players around him to take the attention away from him.
Right.
He had 1 catch against the Rams in that first matchup.
Yeah.
It was for 43 yards and a touchdown on 4th down, and it really broke the game the Panthers' way. So he is a game-changing wide receiver. I don't think there's any doubts or criticisms now of drafting him over an edge rusher in the top 10. He appears to be a perennial Pro Bowl type All-Pro player that is going to be in Carolina for a long, long, long time, and he can change a game. So we'll see if he's able to do that. We'll see if Bryce Young can deliver to him.
As my football head coach in high school used to say, the hoopla of the game. Let's get into that a little bit of the atmosphere, right? The environment that's going to be there. It is interesting to have Cam Newton back, right?
It's more than interesting.
Well, talk about it.
It's surprising.
I know.
I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of joked about it on Sunday. We didn't think it was going to happen.
No.
What would have turned the tide?
No signs were pointing towards that. I think the relationship. I don't even think it was fractured. I think it was just like not. There wasn't communication for a while, and Cam was put off by certain things he heard, like about what was going on here in relation to him, and he hasn't retired yet, so he's not in the Hall of Honor.
Right.
He will be. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
Right.
He's the best, one of the best players in franchise history. Definitely the most talented quarterback in franchise history. You will see again on Saturday, after a decade even. He's still going to have that building wrapped around his finger. He still has that effect on this city and this fan base. So I just think this is what it took to get it back together.
Yeah.
A big moment, a big stage, an invitation to him that became public, probably leaked, so that, he knew like, hey, the love is here. We want you back. Help us on this stage, fire up the crowd.
Right.
And I think it's probably the start of a really good relationship going forward.
I got to say this. I'm sure you'll see a lot of black and blue on Saturday. Last thing, the weather. How do you think that's going to play in? I mean, obviously the run game's going to be big, right? Going to have to lock and secure that ball.
Yeah, if I were a Panthers fan, I would not be hoping for lightning, obviously, because that causes delays. I would hope for rain, though.
Okay.
Bring that black and blue poncho, man.
Do it.
This is what is going to make Matt Stafford the most uncomfortable.
Okay.
It rained in the first meeting. It was in the 40s.
Yep.
Now we're here in January, and Brad's talking about 70s and rain.
Weird.
But wet nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I think that made Matt Stafford uncomfortable in that game. Look, he's been around. He's won a Super Bowl. He's played in elements. He's just not used to it. He's never had a home stadium outdoors in elements like that. And now he's got to do it on the road in the playoffs. So if I were a Panthers fan, I would be hoping that it's dumping buckets on Saturday, because I think that can help Carolina, implement the type of play they want.
Yeah, do your rain dance, folks. Got to do that for sure. All right, man. Last thing, just run us down what we've got. Panthers on the Plus tonight at 9.
Yeah, Panthers on the Plus at 9. That'll be with Eugene Robinson. We've got all of our previous episodes this week on YouTube and WCNC Plus. Talked to the Athletics, Jordan Rodrigue, yesterday, and we're going to have a live pregame show at 2:30. So you're not going to want to miss that. We're going to have special guests, awesome content from throughout the week, and we're really going to show you kind of the atmosphere of, like I said, what's going to be just a big old party at the bank.
Yeah, last week we had a watch party. This week
now we get to do it for real at the stadium.
Yeah,
last week on the road. Now we're ready to go.
Doing the real thing. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to the game. Please watch. And obviously, if you haven't downloaded WCNC Plus, do so. Tell your friends about it. And check out Panthers on the Plus tonight at 9 o'clock. Nick, thanks for your time, man.
You got it. Yep.
All right, guys. We're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back after those 2 minutes. Thanks for coming back with us here on WCNC Plus. City Council member Malcolm Graham spoke a little bit earlier today. There's actually $4 million that's being discussed and potentially voted on that could be sent to this new transit authority here in Mecklenburg County. Let's listen in right now to listen in on what he had to say about that today.
So good morning, everyone. I respect your time, and I really appreciate you guys coming and joining me for what is really, again, as I always say, a very informal conversation, talking about the work that I do on behalf of the people of the city of Charlotte. Again, wishing everyone a great new year, and New Year's resolution, and all the good times are over, and so now it's time to get back to work. And so I am here, as always, to do the work on behalf of the community. I'm so grateful that the citizens of District 2 voted me back in office with no opposition, which is extremely unusual for a hyper-competitive district like District 2, and I take it as a wink and a nod of me doing the right thing for the citizens of the district specifically, and for the city as a whole. And so I'm ready to get back to work. The mayor has made some work assignments for all the council members, and I've been fortunate enough to be appointed to chair the city's Budget, Intergovernmental Relations, and Governance Committee. I also serve as a member of the Crime Committee, Public Safety, as well as Transportation. Since I got back, I think I've chaired every major committee. Chaired the city's Affordable Housing Committee, chaired the Housing Task Force when we went through COVID-19, chaired the Redistricting Commission where we redrew the lines. Last year I had the opportunity to chair the Jobs and Economic Development Committee, and so I think I've kind of done the tour of all the major committees, and certainly intergovernmental relations, dealing with Raleigh, Mecklenburg County, Feds, as well as the new Metropolitan Transit Authority is really important. Obviously, the budget is extremely important, and so as you know, this last year, our governance, how we operate, is going to be extremely important this year. So I take the challenge, look forward to doing the work, obviously leaning in on transportation as well as crime. We'll talk a little bit about all of that. A footnote, again, with all these meetings, these are my personal perspectives, my personal opinions. They do not reflect the council as a whole, or the mayor or the management team. This is just Malcolm from District 2 thinking about how I need to process the work in conjunction with the council as well as the mayor. And so these are my thoughts, my opinions, my perspectives, and not the council or the mayor. Public safety will always be a top priority for the city, and certainly it's one of my top priorities moving forward. And you know, even before the mayor established the new public safety committee, I've been working on a wide variety of public safety initiatives throughout the city through my board membership with Charlotte Center City Partners, focusing on Uptown Charlotte. We had a meeting yesterday, actually, the Uptown Task Force, and we had a year in review and talked about all the things that we thought we put in place over the last 6 months that really kind of trying to regain public confidence in public safety in Uptown Charlotte and through the city as a whole, whether as we're talking about the Take Back the Block initiative that we're doing in Uptown Charlotte, Uptown Vibrancy, the Ambassadors Program, work with all the private security officers from all the major bank buildings working together as one, in addition with CMPD. So I took the opportunity during the holiday and really spent a lot of time in Uptown Charlotte, going to Hornets game, going to the Charlotte Invitational, going to dinners, going to the events at Jewish Field for the Christmas celebration, bowl games, and a high concentration of police officers, high concentration of private security, not only on the streets of Uptown Charlotte, but also on the bus stands and the bus station. I parked my car at Johnson C. Smith and jumped on the streetcar and experienced the streetcar and the transit station. And I am so impressed thus far in terms of how we are leaning in and ensuring that folks in Uptown Charlotte is safe and secure, which is a part of District 2 for sure, and what we're doing throughout the city as a whole. Beatties Ford Road Initiative, we've done a lot of work on Beatties Ford Road, specifically targeting Catherine Simmons and Beatties Ford Road, working in conjunction with Mecklenburg County and Commissioner Velma Leak, who's been an amazing partner on this initiative on Catherine Simmons. Wraparound service, all of government working together, Mecklenburg County, the city, CMPD, code enforcement, the legal office, focusing on mental health, focusing on substance abuse, focusing on loitering and those type of window type of New York analogy, fix the broken window. We're trying to fix the broken window in a very narrowly tailored corridor to provide better quality of life. The city bought property on Catherine Simmons in November that we're going to transform into affordable housing. We will continue to bear down those type of initiatives. Now, if it can work in Beatties Ford Road, it certainly can work throughout the city. I believe, and I try to do, is make district issues city priorities, and we've done that with the corridors of opportunities that started in District 2. We did that with the Alternative to Violence program that was started in District 2, and this whole of government approach focusing on public safety in a narrowly tailored way, starting on Catherine Simmons in District 2, I think could be a model for the city, and so we continue to lead into that. We welcome Chief Patterson and Attorney Fife, who's our new attorney. Those two ladies have hit the ground running, and I'm so impressed with the energy and enthusiasm that the new Chief of Police is bringing to our community. She's been everywhere, and I just really appreciate her candidness about what needs to happen, her ability to bring people together. Anytime you can get to the rank and file police officers, the Fraternal Order of Police, the City Council, all saying that this is the right person for the job, I think we've made a great selection, and now we got to get to work with her and to begin to move forward. Probably next week, CMPD will release their annual crime report for fiscal year 2025. The proof is in the pudding, and so I don't have any heads up on that other than, we still got two issues that we have to face, right? The actual data, what the data suggests we are in terms of crime in Charlotte, and we're still addressing issues relating to perception. And so we still have to do both. And so next week, hopefully, we will kind of see what the score is and how do we leverage whatever the report says to really focusing on being a lot more assertive. I want to be a lot more assertive. And, the first murder of the year occurred last week in District 2, and one of the stations, I think it was Channel 36, interviewed a resident, and the resident said, you need to be a lot more assertive. If you do the crime, you got to do the time, right? And I want this council, from my perspective, to be a lot more assertive in terms of loitering, panhandling, those type of issues that really impact the quality of life, the perception of crime in our community. I want to run people to services for sure, give them the help that they need, whether it's substance abuse or mental health, wellness, housing, workforce development opportunities. But if we do all of that and folks are still breaking the law, then I think we need to be very assertive in enforcing the laws that are already on the book, and that will be some of the things I will be taking to the City Council at our retreat. And I've been saying it very consistently, saying that for the last several years, and I think finally, I think we have an opportunity to, under Chief Patterson's leadership and working in conjunction with the City Attorney's Office, really even cracking down on businesses and landowners who buy property and lease them to those who are selling drugs. We just need to be a no tolerance on a wide variety of issues moving forward. So that's crime and public safety, and I look forward to serving on the committee and continuing the initiatives that I've been involved in for the last several years, continuing the work on that front. Transportation, certainly I'm a member of the Transportation Committee as well, and lots going on there. In particular, that's impacting District 2 is all the conversations about the expansion of I-77 South. Residents along the Batesville Road corridor are extremely concerned and frustrated regarding both of the plans that have been produced thus far by NCDOT that really, from my perspective, continues to put burdens on black and brown communities as relates to infrastructure and road widening. I-77 has a long history in reference to that. We don't need to repeat those type of mistakes that we've made in the past. I will be assembling a town hall meeting on Saturday, January 22nd, 4th? It's January 24th here at the Government Center. We're bringing in NCDOT. We're bringing in Tom Hatchett to talk about the historical perspective of I-77 South. We're trying to answer a lot of questions before the residents get here, but I want to create an environment where residents can be heard. I want to create an environment where folks can have the opportunity to communicate with one another, and that we can talk to NCDOT and have a relationship that's mutually beneficial, because two things can be true at the same time, right? I-77 South probably does need to be widened, right? But it shouldn't be done at the expense of black and brown communities. And so we've been working with them. I have been working with NCDOT, number of meetings over the last several weeks and months about this particular project, and we're going to bring that to a head at the town hall meeting on the 24th. Just really begin to provide an opportunity for residents to once again be heard. A lot of the residents don't even know what carpool is. Right, and that's the government body, or quasi-government body, that's making some of these decisions. And so we want to break it down, we want to level set, and create an opportunity where NCDOT and residents and I can kind of work together to ensure that we continue to build a better Charlotte, but don't put the burden on the back of black and brown communities, and certainly neighborhood leaders and residents up and down the Batesville Road corridor. Want to take the opportunity to congratulate David Howard and Frank Emery and all the members of the Metropolitan Public Transit Authority. They got sworn in last month. I watched their meeting last night. Interesting, it's but exciting, right? Because they're building something new, and before they can build a new transit stop or the red line, they have to build a foundation. They have